Hello guys, welcome to Soul Fiction. So in this video, we will see the hat if Naruto was the reincarnation of Gojo with power of limitless and 6 eyes. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1: The Blue-Eyed Upstart. Late morning training field behind the academy. A steady breeze rustled the trees around the training field as Naruto Uzumaki, wearing his usual orange jumpsuit, stood facing off against a trio of academy students. He had his back to them, 6 eyes keenly observing their every move. While most wouldn't notice any difference in Naruto's gaze, those azure orbs held immeasurable depths. Like swirling currents of cursed energy barely contained. Iruka stood on the sidelines, clipboard in hand, brow furrowed. Naruto, you were only supposed to demonstrate the Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto shrugged, lifting a single finger to adjust an imaginary pair of glasses. In truth, there were no glasses, only the illusions he sometimes conjured to hide the brilliant glow of those eyes. Yeah, well, he replied, voice tinged with an amused irreverence, I got bored. A faint flicker of chakra coursed around Naruto, crackling like invisible static. The 3 academy students standing a few paces behind him shuddered, their nerves rattled by the overwhelming presence he exuded. One of them swallowed hard. The rumor around the academy was that Naruto wasn't just the demon fox kid anymore, he was something far more terrifying. Iruka sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. All right, just remember to hold back. We don't want another crater on school grounds. Naruto's lips quirked into a smirk. Sure, Sensei. A playful wink later, he swung around and faced his classmates. Let's wrap this up quick. I've got places to be. The student on Naruto's left formed a seal, Lon. Ching himself forward with a straightforward punch. Naruto lifted a hand, stopping him mid-charge with an unseen force. It felt like an invisible wall had appeared. The attacker's fist hung in the air, inches from Naruto's face. Unable to move closer. Wah! The boy gasped. Sweat broke out on his brow as he struggled against that intangible barrier. The other 2 tried to flank Naruto from behind. But Naruto's smirk widened. He flicked his wrist, and the attackers were sent skidding across the dirt field, yelping as they tumbled. Iruka's mouth fell open. He'd seen Naruto's unusual feats before, tremendous chakra reserves, bizarre reflexes, but each new demonstration reminded him how out of the norm Naruto truly was. The boy could manipulate space with casual ease. Iruka didn't understand it fully. But he knew Naruto's limitless wasn't just some quirk. It was terrifyingly powerful. Naruto clapped his hands together, then gave the 3 fallen students a nod. Good effort. Keep practicing. From the sidelines, a group of onlooking girls whispered to each other. Naruto caught sight of Ino, who gave him a little wave. He flashed a grin back, not minding the attention in the slightest. Ever since word got out that Naruto had some strange new Kekkei Genkai, he'd been getting more glances than usual, some awe-filled, some fearful. He'd turned that into a sort of game, flirting brazenly with whoever caught his eye. He let his gaze drift across the field, briefly meeting Sasuke Uchiha's glare. Sasuke was watching with clenched fists, jaw set, clearly vexed at the idea that Naruto might be leaps and bounds ahead. Naruto gave Sasuke a playful 2-finger salute. Rather than respond, Sasuke just ground his teeth and looked away. Iruka cleared his throat. All right, class dismissed. He gestured for Naruto to follow. Uzumaki, with me. Naruto pulled his hands into his pockets, strolling along behind Iruka with a cocky grin. Noon Academy rooftop. The sun beat down on them, arming the dusty tiles beneath their feet. Iruka turned to Naruto, his voice caught between concern and duty. Look, Naruto, I know you're strong, unbelievably strong. But you can't keep toying with your classmates like this. Naruto leaned against the metal railing, the wind tossing his messy blonde hair into his face. They're the ones who insist on picking fights. I just end them. Iruka's gaze was sharp. That's exactly the problem. You're not giving them a chance to grow. And more importantly, you're not learning anything yourself if you crush every spar with overwhelming force. Naruto shrugged. I do hold back. Iruka looked skeptical. Then you need to hold back more. This is the academy, Naruto. You're about to graduate. Don't you want to learn teamwork? Discipline. Naruto offered a half laugh. Sensei, I can see chakra flows with these eyes. I can warp space with a flick of my wrist. The same teamwork lessons that apply to normal shinobi, they don't exactly apply to me. Iruka stayed quiet, measuring Naruto's words. After a moment, he spoke softly, regardless of your power, you're still part of Konoha. Don't forget people are watching you. Not all of them with friendly eyes. Naruto caught the underlying warning. He'd overheard whispers of that old war hawk, Danzo, taking an interest in him. Let them watch, he thought. He had no intention of bowing to anyone. He let the silence linger before replying, I'm aware. But I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not, sensei. Iruka sighed, but his gaze softened. Fine. Just be careful. A small pause. You do want to become Hokage someday. Right. Naruto paused for a second, then broke into a grin that reached his eyes. Yeah, one day, maybe, if it's fun. Iruka shook his head. I'll take that as a yes. With an exasperated grin of his own, he turned to go back inside. Go grab some lunch. You've got free time this afternoon. Naruto waved off Iruka's concern. He liked the guy. Iruka was one of few who actually looked out for him despite all the rumors. But Naruto felt like the teachers didn't grasp just how different he truly was. Not just because of the 9 tails. Because of something else. An echo of a past life that haunted his dreams. A man in a white blindfold, unstoppable, fearless, with the world's fate in his hands. It was exhilarating, yet disconcerting. The memory fragments kept him up at night, questioning who he really was. He closed his eyes briefly, letting the rooftop wind brush his skin, then hopped over the edge, landing cat-like on the ground below. Time for lunch. Afternoon ramen ichiraku. The aroma of broth and noodles greeted Naruto the moment he ducked under the small shop curtain. Tsuki gave him a bright smile. Naruto. Usual. Yep. Make it 2. Naruto called back. He slid onto a stool, noticing someone was already there. Hinata Hyuga. She shrank under his gaze, fiddling with her fingers. Oh, hey, Hinata. She blushed intensely. Hi, Naruto-kun. Leaning an elbow on the counter, he flashed a charismatic grin. You look cute today. Training going okay? He knew how shy she was, but a little teasing always brought a reaction. Her eyes went wide, cheeks turning an even deeper shade of red. Why yes, everything's fine. Thank you. He chuckled to himself. It was almost too easy with her. Hinata's innocence was refreshing. Yet he found it curious that she seemed intrigued by his presence, not repulsed by the rumors of the 9 tails. Maybe she sensed, on some level, that he was more than just that. He also sensed another set of eyes on him, someone standing behind him at the entrance. Turning, he saw Ino, who gave a breezy laugh. Can't believe you beat me here, Naruto. I wanted to talk to you about tomorrow's kunai drill. You're still gonna help me, right? Naruto smiled. Depends. How are you going to thank me for the lesson? Oh, you. Ino rolled her eyes but smirked playfully beside them. Clearly, Ino was less timid and had no problem bantering with Naruto. I might buy you lunch if you do a good job. Tsuki placed the bowls of ramen down in front of Naruto. Without missing a beat, Naruto pulled Ino closer by the wrist. She nearly stumbled into him but caught her balance. Their eyes met, her cheeks pinkening at the sudden closeness. In that case, Naruto drawled, I'll make sure you learn everything you need to know. Ino's heart thumped loudly. She could feel his confidence. Hinata coughed, looking aside, while Naruto offered Ino a seat next to him. The two girls exchanged brief glances, one shy, one outgoing and Naruto took a moment to enjoy the attention, that self-assured grin never leaving his face. He finished his first bowl in record time, teased Ino about how she'd better not slack during tomorrow's training, and shared a few polite words with Hinata, who managed a small smile. That's when Naruto felt a prickling on the back of his neck. Another presence dark, hidden like a hawk's eye watching from afar. He slurped the last of his broth, eyes scanning the street just outside. He didn't see anyone, but the corners of his mouth tightened. Danzo, or maybe one of those Anbu watchers Hiruzen had assigned. Either way, it didn't matter. He let out a casual laugh, standing up. I'll see you both tomorrow. Bye, Naruto-kun, Hinata managed. Ino smirked, half lidding her eyes. Don't be late. Late afternoon Hokage Monument overlook. Naruto sat atop the fourth Hokage's head, gazing out over Konoha. The breeze was cooler here, whipping across the stony cliff edge. This was a spot he often came to think or sometimes not think. To just exist. He settled into a crouch, resting an elbow on his knee. Reaching into his memory, he once again found flickers of that white-haired sorcerer in his dreams Satoru Gojo. A cocky grin, unstoppable power, a boundless confidence that dwarfed even Naruto's. The memory told him he wasn't just the container for the nine tails. He was something more, something that changed the very laws of nature. He recalled a recent moment, the day he'd first manifested limitless during a spar at the academy. Sasuke had tried to land a punch, only for his fist to slow to a halt inches from Naruto's face. As if the air had turned to concrete. That was the moment Naruto realized there was an infinite distance between himself and any incoming attack. It felt natural, as though he'd always known this technique existed. Even his partial mastery of it made him practically untouchable. Of course, the downside was that everyone who saw it freaked out. Some with admiration, others with suspicion. The Hokage had asked him about it, and Naruto had shrugged, feigning ignorance, just something I figured out. But the weight of those eyes on him, Danzo's, Orochimaru's, maybe even the Akatsuki's, was growing. Naruto smirked to himself. Let them come. He closed his eyes, letting his chakra senses roam the village. He could feel hundreds of signatures flicker around like distant lanterns. One, in particular, glowed brighter, familiar, strong, and tinted with a sense of repressed fury. Sasuke. He was training intensely in a secluded corner of the Uchiha compound. Naruto felt a pang. He remembered Gojo's stance on power. No matter how strong your foe is, you can always be stronger. But in a place like this, was that principle even fair? He was reincarnated into a world where people sweated, bled, and fought for years just to achieve a fraction of what he was capable of. It was all so easy for him. If he wasn't careful, boredom might consume him. He exhaled, eyes flicking open. Fine, then, he muttered under his breath. Guess I'll find my own fun. Nightfall. Naruto's apartment. The small apartment was messy. Instant ramen cups littered the table, a few scattered scrolls lying around. Naruto flipped on a dim lamp, dropped onto his bed, and stared at the ceiling. He thought about the girls who'd lingered around him today: Ino, Hinata, a few older kunoichi who'd given him sly winks in passing. On some level, it amused him that he had this magnetic pull. On another level, it reminded him how lonely he'd felt in his early years, ostracized by nearly everyone. If flirting and messing around helped fill that void, then so be it. A different memory intruded. A white-haired man in a blindfold, standing atop a giant, blood-soaked battlefield. Bodies of cursed spirits littered the ground. That man, he had laughed triumphantly, proclaiming himself the world's strongest. There was a sense of exhilaration. Then, a flicker of sadness. Power could be isolating. Naruto blinked back to reality. His brow creasing. TCH. Cut it out, he chided himself. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. If I'm lonely, I'll just do something about it. He sat up, rummaging through a small chest beneath his bed. Inside were a handful of personal items, including a worn photograph of the fourth Hokage, someone he felt a bizarre kinship to. And beneath that photo was a scroll labeled, Sealing Techniques. He unrolled it partway. Konoha wouldn't let him get anywhere near advanced fuinjutsu normally, but somehow, the third Hokage had relented. The complexity of the designs was intriguing, not nearly as complex as the swirling equations of infinite space he sometimes envisioned behind his eyelids. He rubbed his temple, wondering if he could apply those same principles to a seal. He traced a finger along the inked lines. Probably, he murmured with a confident grin. He'd figure it out eventually. He noticed the time and sighed. He had to be up early tomorrow. There was a special test Iruka was prepping. I guess I should try to sleep. But as he closed his eyes, the swirl of memories from another life threatened to keep him awake again. Early morning academy hallway. Naruto leaned against a wall, waiting for class to start. He watched as kids milled about, laughing and chatting. A few girls threw him excited smiles and waves. He lazily nodded back. Sasuke appeared down the corridor, stoic as ever, ignoring the swarm of fangirls around him. Their eyes briefly met. Tension crackled in the space between them. Sasuke's desire to surpass Naruto and Naruto's aloof disregard for Sasuke's pride. Sakura popped up, noticing Naruto's line of sight. Hey, if you're thinking about fighting Sasuke again, don't. You always end up wrecking the practice grounds. Naruto shrugged. Don't worry, Sakura, I'll behave. His tone, however, suggested no such promise. Sakura rolled her eyes. You're impossible, are you? She stopped, noticing the way Naruto's eyes gleamed in the morning light. Perhaps it was the unique glow of the 6 eyes. She blinked, momentarily thrown off. Never mind, let's just get this over with. Iruka-sensei said we're doing more group drills. Naruto snorted. Sounds boring. Moments later, Iruka stepped out of the classroom, calling them in. Alright, everyone inside. Today we'll be doing practical evaluations. In the classroom, Naruto took his usual seat at the back, propping his feet on the desk. He caught Ino's eye, and she winked at him. He winked back. Meanwhile, Hinata, seated near the front, peeked over her shoulder, cheeks flaring pink the second she met his gaze. Iruka cleared his throat. We'll split into teams of 3. You'll practice formation attacks and defenses. This will be on top of the usual ninjutsu drills. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, you're together. A few snickers went around the room. Even Iruka managed a small smirk at pairing the rivals together. Naruto felt excitement buzz through him. Sure, he found standard drills dull, but having Sasuke around added a bit of spice. The Uchiha's scowls, the resentment simmering behind those dark eyes. Naruto found it entertaining to see how much it rankled Sasuke that Naruto was ahead. Then again, Naruto also sensed that Sasuke's drive stemmed from a deeper pain. The Uchiha clan's massacre, the Shaha's 6 eyes. Naruto could read more than just chakra. Sometimes, he caught glimpses of the underlying emotions. He smirked, crossing his arms behind his head. Let's make it fun, he muttered under his breath. Midday Academy training ground. The sun shone brightly on the open training field as Iruka placed 3 wooden dummies in a line. Alright, first formation drill. You coordinate attacks and defenses in unison. Naruto yawned, stepping forward. Sasuke did the same, lips pressed into a thin line. Sakura stood off to the side, looking unsure. Iruka gave them the signal, and Sasuke dashed forward, weaving hand seals for the fire release. Great fireball technique. Sack. Ura followed up with a handful of shuriken, aimed around the dummy to create a small barrage. It was a decent combo, textbook synergy. Naruto decided to show a little flair. He channeled chakra into his hand, an electric tingle running up his arm as he manipulated the space in front of him. A swirling distortion flickered around his palm. Then, he thrust his arm forward. The space seemed to fold. A thin corridor of compressed air shot straight toward the wooden dummy, tearing through the ground. The impact was immediate and violent. The dummy shattered on contact, fragments spraying across the dirt. The scorching wave of Sasuke's fire jutsu trailed behind, incinerating whatever remained. Iruka blinked, stunned. A wave of hot air hit them in the aftermath. Even Sasuke, usually stone-faced, looked momentarily taken aback. Sakura, shielding her face from the dust, stared at Naruto in disbelief. You destroyed it in one move. Naruto smirked. Oops. Sasuke's jaw tightened. The unspoken question in his eyes. What the hell did you just do? Before Sasuke could demand answers, Iruka called out from behind them, Naruto. I told you not to go overboard. Naruto shrugged, dusting off his hands. It was just a little push. Quote. Sasuke clicked his tongue, obviously annoyed. But in truth, Naruto's unstoppable prowess lit a fire under him. Sasuke stormed off to practice alone, ignoring the next set of instructions. Sakura sighed, exasperated. Great, now he's in a mood. Again, she turned to Naruto. Why do you keep doing that? Naruto shoved his hands into his pockets. Because it's who I am. Besides, if I hold back too much, I'll never know my limits. Iruka came over, worry etched on his face. But before he could admonish Naruto further, and Anbu suddenly appeared at his side, whispering something in a low voice. Iruka nodded and glanced at Naruto, apprehension building in his eyes. Uzumaki, the Hokage wants to see you, Iruka said quietly. Naruto cocked an eyebrow. Now, yes, immediately. Naruto frowned. Great, another lecture from the old man. Possibly, but the undercurrent in Iruka's voice hinted at something more serious. Without protest, Naruto flickered out of sight in a burst of speed that left a small gust of wind behind him. Afternoon Hokage's office. By the time Naruto arrived, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was seated behind his cluttered desk, pipe in hand. Sunlight streamed through the wide windows, illuminating the tall stacks of paperwork. Two Anbu stood on either side of the room, silent as statues. Hiruzen regarded Naruto with a pensive expression. So, you've been causing quite a stir, he said, tapping his pipe against the ashtray. Sparring accidents, destroyed training dummies, it seems your power grows day by day. Naruto leaned on the desk, ignoring any pretense of respect. You know me, old man, I like to keep things interesting. The Hokage studied him. Yes, I remember your father was similar in that regard, though perhaps more discreet. But let's not forget, the council is growing wary. Naruto snorted. The council can worry all they want. I'm not doing anything wrong. Hiruzen's gaze flickered to the Anbu. With a single gesture, he dismissed them. Once they were alone, the Hokage leaned forward. Danzo has been persistent. He wants you monitored more closely. He believes your abilities could be an unparalleled asset. Or a threat, Naruto finished. Hiruzen nodded gravely. Yes, and there's also Orochimaru to consider. He's been sighted near the borders, and if he learns of your unique power, he'll undoubtedly seek you out. Naruto shrugged. Let him. The Hokage sighed, though a small smile tugged at his lips. That brash confidence reminded him of a younger self, or perhaps of Jiraiya. We can't afford to be reckless, Naruto. You carry the 9 tails, and on top of that, something that defies normal shinobi logic. A technique that resembles no known jutsu. Naruto's eyes narrowed. It's called limitless. At least, that's what I've started calling it. You want details. Hiruzen paused, intrigued. If you're willing to share. Naruto gave a casual shrug. It manipulates space. Makes it so I can never be touched if I don't want to be. There's more to it, but that's the gist. The Hokage stroked his beard. That explains the rumors. Danzo will stop at nothing to harness this. Be vigilant, Naruto. He tapped his fingers on the desk, the weight of his gaze conveying fatherly concern. I won't allow him to force your hand, but do not give him any excuses, either. Understood. With a lazy salute, Naruto turned to leave. Yeah, got it. Just before he exited, Hiruzen spoke again, more softly. Naruto, I want you to remember, power isn't everything. Connecting with others, acting them, that's what will shape your future. Naruto paused, letting those words sink in. A fragment of Gojo's memory flashed an image of a battered comrade, a vow to protect the weak. He didn't respond aloud, just gave a slight nod before stepping out. Dusk, a back alley in Konoha. Naruto walked alone, weaving through deserted alleys. He sensed something off, a presence. Soft footsteps echoed behind him, and he could practically taste the tension in the air. He spun on his heel, eyes cold. Who's there? A masked figure emerged from the shadows. Not Anbu, this mask was different, more menacing. There was no identifying emblem. You're Naruto Uzumaki, the figure said, voice low and distorted. Word on the street is you've got a new power. Naruto's eyebrow quirked. Your point. A kunai flashed in the masked stranger's hand, the steel glinting in the fading light. Danzo isn't the only one interested in you. Naruto sighed dramatically. People really need better hobbies. The masked figure lunged. Kunai aimed at Naruto's throat. The motion was swift, but Naruto didn't flinch. The assailant's blade halted an inch from Naruto's skin, as though colliding with an invisible barrier. Naruto's lips curled into a grin. Ever hear of personal space? With a flick of his wrist, he reversed the pressure. The masked figure was hurled backward into the brick wall, gasping as they crumpled to the ground. Naruto approached leisurely, kneeling to yank the mask off. Underneath was a young man, eyes wide with shock. Who are you working for? Naruto asked, voice dripping with indifference. A tremor passed through the man's limbs. He clutched at his ribs, pain evident. I can't say. Naruto considered him for a moment. Then, with a sigh, he flicked the air in front of the man's chest. A localized distortion sent another wave of force rattling through the man's body, but not enough to kill, just enough to terrify. The man cried out. "Talk," Naruto said, softly but firmly. The man's breathing was ragged. "I'm with a group. A shadow group. We were told to gather intel on your abilities. Then, subdue you if possible." Naruto rolled his eyes. "Subdue me? Good luck with that." Realizing the hopelessness of his mission, the man wilted. "We just wanted to see your jutsu in action." Naruto leaned in, voice quiet. "Next time, ask nicely." Then, with a swift chop, he knocked there a moment. Adrenaline humming in his veins. That was the second time this week he'd encountered suspicious individuals in the village. It made him wonder just how many clandestine groups lurked around, seeking to use him. A sense of annoyance flickered through him. If they wanted a demonstration of his power, they'd better come at him with something more challenging. If they didn't, this village would be riddled with unconscious bodies. He left the man where he lay, knowing an Anbu patrol would eventually stumble across him. Night. Naruto's apartment. Later. He returned home, mind buzzing with the day's events. Danzo's interest, the Hokage's warnings, another mysterious group looking for him. The tension in the air was undeniable. He plopped onto his bed, hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling once again. The swirl of Gojo's memories teased the edges of his consciousness, urging him to push boundaries, to test the limits of his might. Yet a part of Naruto, his own soul, wondered if all this power would ever truly fill the holes in his heart. The Nine Tails loomed within him, too, a constant reminder that darkness simmered under all that strength. He exhaled slowly, letting a wave of tiredness roll through him. "Tomorrow," he murmured. "I'll see what tomorrow brings." And as if on cue, an image drifted through his mind. The adoring eyes of Hinata, the playful grin of Ino, the half-exasperated concern of Sakura. For all his brashness, Naruto found himself surprisingly grateful for these connections. Even if he teased them, even if he reveled in his own strength, he felt omething close to warmth at their presence. Not alone, he reminded himself. "I'm not alone." A smirk curled on his lips. That was enough, for now. Midnight. Dark Hull in Root headquarters. Deep underground, far from the Hokage's watchful eyes, Danzo Shimura stood in front of a stone table lit by torches. A young Root operative kneeled before him, head bowed. "Report," Danzo commanded, voice harsh. "The attempt to capture Uzumaki failed," the operative said, swallowing hard. "He's unstoppable. Our man didn't stand a chance." Danzo's single visible eye narrowed. "I see." He tapped his cane against the floor, thinking. Naruto Uzumaki. Reincarnation or not, that power can shift the balance of this village. "We must." He cut himself off, glancing around. Silence lingered for a beat as he considered his next move. Finally, he dismissed the operative with a curt nod. Then he turned to stare at the flickering flame of a torch, the shadows dancing across his features. "If the Hokage won't take him in hand, I will. Whether by persuasion or force, he will become an asset of Konoha." End of Chapter 1. Naruto has established his absolute dominance, leaving behind a trail of odd classmates, uneasy instructors, and lurking enemies. His power limitless, 6 eyes, and the 9 tails makes him a beacon drawing the eye of every ambitious faction. Yet beneath his godlike confidence lies an undercurrent of doubt and loneliness, hinting at deeper struggles to come. The stage is set for escalating tensions with Danzo's root, Orochimaru's lurking threat, and the stirrings of other clandestine force. Who see Naruto as either a weapon or a prize. Next, he will step closer to graduation, forging alliances and rivalries that will shape his path and the entire shinobi world's fate. Chapter 2. The Edge of Limits. Early morning academy practice grounds. Naruto yawned as he stepped onto the dew-laden grass, the sun just cresting over Konoha's tiled rooftops. The academy's final graduation exam loomed large in everyone's mind. For Naruto, though, it felt more like a formality. In his eyes, he'd already surpassed most genin, maybe even some jonin. Still, today wasn't just about passing, it was AC. Hence to show the village, particularly Danzo and the elders, that he could play nice when necessary. Not that he cared what they thought, but Iruka and the third Hokage had asked him to keep a lower profile. "Good morning, Naruto-kun." Naruto turned to see Hinata standing shyly behind him. She wore a hesitant smile, her pale eyes flicking from him to the ground. Even this early, the gentle sun lit up her face with a soft glow. "Hey, Hinata." He slid his hands into his pockets. "Ready for the exam?" She fiddled with her fingers. "Why yes, I studied. And practiced." Naruto looked her up and down, giving a half smirk. "You worry too much. Just do your thing and you'll pass." From the corner of his eye, he spotted Ino approaching with a confident sway, her hair done in a neat ponytail. She gave Naruto a playful nudge with her elbow. "Hanging with Hinata before the exam, huh? Don't tell me you're trying to fluster her right before she has to perform." Naruto shrugged. "Who, me? I'd never." Then he shot Ino a mischievous wink. A pink flush colored Hinata's cheeks, and she stepped back, mumbling something about needing to find a good seat. Ino, meanwhile, just rolled her eyes, but Naruto could see she was holding back a smile. "Try not to show off too much," Ino murmured quietly, leaning in so he could catch the hint of her jasmine-scented perfume. "We all want to pass without looking like complete amateurs next to you." "Okay." He gave a soft chuckle, the corner of his lips curving. No promises. Inside the academy graduation exam, students filed into the classroom where Iruka and Mizuki stood behind a long table scattered with papers. The tension in the air was palpable. For most, this exam was the culmination of years of hard work. Naruto took a seat near the back, drumming his fingers on the desk. Sasuke sat a few chairs away, arms crossed, eyes full of silent resolve. Iruka called them up one by one to perform the clone jutsu, transformation, and a basic substitution technique. Simple stuff, but crucial for the exam. Naruto leaned his head against the back of his chair, letting his mind wander. He could practically replicate any jutsu he'd seen once, courtesy of his 6 eyes. Not to mention the swirling well of limitless inside him. Compared to that, these standard ninjutsu felt like playing with children's toys. He felt a faint tingle at the edge of his senses, someone's eyes on him. Glancing sideways, he noticed Sasuke looking his way with a scowl. Naruto merely tilted his head and flashed a lazy grin. When Iruka finally called, "Naruto Uzumaki, you're up," the entire room went quiet. Some of the students shifted nervously in their seats, remembering the near destruction of practice dummies from days before. Naruto stepped forward, hands in his pockets. Iruka looked at him seriously. "Naruto, I know you can do this, but please keep the property damage to a minimum." A few giggles and hushed whispers rippled across the room. Naruto smirked at Iruka's dry tone. Yeah, sensei. I got it." With effortless chakra control, Naruto performed the clone jutsu, creating 2 perfect copies of himself. Instead of the usual shaky illusions he once struggled with, these clones were solid. Stable. He'd come a long way from the scrawny kid who couldn't do a basic transformation. Next, transformation. He morphed into the third Hokage perfectly, capturing even the subtle lines on Hiruzen's wrinkled forehead. Iruka's eyebrows rose in mild approval. Finally, substitution. Naruto replaced himself with a wooden log across the room before returning in a puff of smoke. Flawless. Iruka nodded, a hint of pride in his eyes. He handed Naruto a brand new Konoha forehead protector. "Congratulations. You pass." That was it. No fireworks, no grand reveal. Naruto exhaled, strapping the protector around his forehead. For a moment, a subtle wave of nostalgia tugged at him. He'd dreamed of wearing the leaf's symbol since he was little, and now here it was. He glanced back at the classroom. In the front row, Hinata smiled softly in encouragement. Ino winked from her seat, as if to say, "Told you to keep it tame." And somewhere in the middle, I see silence. Naruto slid his hands into his pockets again. This is only the start, he thought, a surge of adrenaline warming his chest. Afternoon Academy courtyard. The newly graduated genin gathered outside, many with their fresh headbands proudly displayed. Naruto lounged against a tree, examining the reflective metal on his own. Ino and Sakura were arguing nearby, presumably about something involving Sasuke. Nah, Ruto smirked. Some rivalries never change. Hinata, standing alone, mustered the courage to approach him. Hello, Naruto-kun, she said quietly. You did really well. He shrugged. Easy stuff. Spotting her own forehead protector, he reached over and adjusted it gently so it wouldn't slip. The act made her cheeks flush. Looks good on you. Thank you, she stammered, voice so soft he almost didn't catch it. Before he could say more, a voice spoke behind him, Naruto. He turned and found Sasuke, who wore his headband tilted low across his brow. Their eyes met. An unspoken challenge flared, electric in the air. What's up, Uchiha? Naruto asked coolly. Sasuke ignored his tone. I'm going to surpass you. Whatever it takes. Naruto arched a brow, then chuckled. You sure about that? Sasuke's fists tightened at his sides. Count on it. Without waiting for a reply, Sasuke turned and walked away, leaving a hush in his wake. Hinata shifted uneasily. Naruto gave a low, amused laugh. But there was a tinge of respect there, hidden beneath his playful exterior. At least he's persistent. Late afternoon, random rooftop overlooking Konoha. With the academy finals complete, the next big event was the team assignments. That wouldn't happen until the following day, so Naruto took a moment to perch on a rooftop, letting the breeze ruffle his hair. From here, he watched people go about their day, shops opening. Shinobi hurrying to missions, civilians bustling through the market. He closed his eyes, letting his 6 eyes expand his awareness. He could sense faint pulses of chakra all across the village. Some, like normal villagers, were subdued. Others, like experienced jonin, flared bright. And one presence in particular caught his interest. A swirl of dark, clandestine energy beneath the surface. Danzo's domain. He recalled last night's altercation with that masked assailant. If they were from Root, they weren't very impressive. But Root was notorious for operating in secrecy and total compliance to Danzo's will. And if that old war hawk was trying to control Naruto, it wouldn't stop with just a single spy. Let him try, Naruto thought with a silent laugh. I won't be cornered by anyone. Evening, Yamanaka flower shop. Naruto had promised Ino he'd help her lock down a few kunai throwing techniques, and though the official practice was over, she insisted on a quick refray. Share in the empty lot behind her family's flower shop. When he arrived, the sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in warm oranges. He found her leaning against a table full of potted plants, dressed in casual training attire. Hey, Ino greeted, twirling a kunai around her index finger. You're late, Naruto smirked. Got held up. She arched an eyebrow, stepping closer, the tension between them shifting from playful to something a bit more charged. You keep me waiting often enough, Uzumaki. He gave a light chuckle, eyeing her stance. All right, show me your form. Ino rolled her shoulders, took position, and launched the kunai at a target pinned to the wooden fence. It struck near the center good, but not perfect. Naruto moved behind her, lightly placing his hand over hers to guide her wrist. Shift your grip a little. Keep your elbow locked until the last moment. She tried again, and the kunai landed closer to the bull's eye. A grin spread across her lips. Better. Yeah, he murmured. You're improving. They stood that way for a second, the proximity suddenly noticeable, her breath hitching slightly at how close he was. Naruto felt the tension, that electric crackle he never shied away from. In another life, maybe he'd have been more cautious. But in this life, with these powers, he indulged. He leaned in, brushing his lips against hers, a brief, teasing contact. For a heartbeat, Ino froze. Kunai still in her hand. Then she melted into the kiss, returning the pressure. The clang of steel on pavement echoed as her kunai slipped from her fingers. When they separated, a small smirk tugged at Naruto's mouth. Ino's cheeks flamed pink, but she didn't back away. You're incorrigible, she whispered, breathless yet amused. You like it, he shot back, that tr. Atomark confidence glittering in his gaze. She grabbed the collar of his jacket, pulling him close. Maybe I do. A throat cleared, and they both spun to see Ino's father, Inoichi, standing at the doorway of the shop. His face was stony, though he managed to appear more exasperated than furious. Naruto grinned, unbothered. Evening, Yamanaka-san. Inoichi let out a long suffering sigh. Just try not to trample the flower beds. Ino rolled her eyes. Yes, Dad. Naruto chuckled. I'll let you get back to work. See you tomorrow at team placements. Ino gave him one last playful look before he disappeared into the dimly lit street. Night. Naruto's apartment. Back in his cluttered apartment, Naruto tossed his headband onto a side table. He felt the ache of the day's training, but it was a pleasant sort of weariness, something to remind him that he was physically here, not just drifting through an omnipotent haze. His mind drifted to that kiss with Ino. He felt a surge of wry amusement at how easily he enjoyed these fleeting moments, even as part of him remained distant, hyper-aware of the bigger stage he stood on. He rummaged for a pack of instant ramen, setting the kettle on to boil. As he waited, a memory flickered, a tall, white-haired figure gojo gliding through a cursed realm, face half hidden by a blindfold, unstoppable confidence exuding from every pore. Naruto had begun to susp that these glimpses weren't just dreams, but actual vestiges of a previous existence. Am I walking the same path he did? Naruto wondered. If so, how did it end for him? The kettle whistled, snapping him back to the present. He poured the hot water into the cup, stirring absent-mindedly. He didn't have all the answers, but what he did have was raw power, a reckless spirit, and a village full of people who, whether they realized it or not, needed him. And if anyone tries to chain me, he thought, lips curling into a smirk as he lifted the cup of ramen, I'll show them what infinity really means. Team Assignment Day. Academy Classroom. The next morning, Naruto found himself in the same seat at the back of the classroom, arms folded behind his head. Laughter and chatter filled the air as newly graduated genin awaited their team announcements. Iruka stood at the front, calling out names and listing off who would be assigned with whom. Sakura's face lit up when she heard Sasuke's name on her team, only to falter the moment Naruto was announced alongside them. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Sakura Haruno Team 7, under Kakashi Hatake. Iruka finished. Naruto's eyebrows arched slightly. Kakashi, huh, he'd heard rumors. The copy ninja, a legendary jonin known for his Sharingan and laid-back attitude. Naruto had always been curious how the Sharingan would react to his 6 eyes if they ever truly clashed. Sasuke let out a huff, clearly not thrilled to share a team with Naruto. Sakura, torn between excitement at being with Sasuke and exasperation at being stuck with Naruto, looked conflicted. From across the room, Ino gave Naruto an exaggerated pout as she was assigned to Team 10 with Shikamaru and Choji. She mouthed, "You owe me," across the room. Naruto just chuckled. Once all the names were called, Iruka ended with, "Your jonin instructors will arrive shortly to meet their teams. Wait here." Mid-morning waiting for Kakashi. Team 7 was THP. Naruto stretched out across a row of chairs, bored out of his mind. Sakura paced back and forth, glancing at the clock every few seconds. Sasuke stood near the window, arms crossed. After a painful wait, a tall man with gravity-defying silver hair finally slid the door open. He wore the standard jonin vest, a mask covering the lower half of his face, and his forehead protector slanted to hide his left eye. "Yo," he greeted casually, eye roving over the 3 of them. "My first impression. You're all weird." Naruto smirked. "You haven't seen weird yet, sensei." Sakura sputtered. "What kind of introduction is that?" Kakashi just shrugged, beckoning them to follow. "Come on, we'll talk on the roof." The 4 of them made their way up to the academy's rooftop, where Kakashi told them to sit on the steps. The sky was a brilliant blue, the morning sunlight warm. Kakashi leaned against the railing. "Let's introduce ourselves. Likes, dislikes, dreams, stuff like that. Starting with you, Pinky." Sakura's eyebrow twitched. "My name is Sakura Haruno. I like." She cast a shy glance at Sasuke, cheeks pinkening. "I dislike certain annoyances. And my dream is." Her eyes once again flicked to Sasuke, but she trailed off, too embarrassed to say it aloud. Kakashi gave a bored nod. "Next, the broody one." Sasuke glared but spoke. "Sasuke Uchiha. I don't have a lot of likes. I dislike a lot of things. My ambition is to kill a certain man and restore my clan." Naruto watched him carefully, noting the bitter edge in his voice. He wondered if Sasuke's thirst for revenge would ever let him see anything else. Kakashi waited. "And finally, you." He tilted his head at Naruto. Naruto put his hands behind his head, leaning back lazily. Name's Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, flirting, and pushing limits. I dislike old men who think they run everything from the shadows. As for my dream, he paused, letting a confident grin spread. I guess you could say I want to become the strongest ninja around Hokage if it suits me. But mostly, I just don't want anyone deciding my path for me. Kakashi lifted an eyebrow. Interesting. Well, I'm Kakashi Hatake. I like things, and I dislike things. My dreams for the future. Never really thought about it. Sakura deadpanned. That's it. Kakashi gave a lazy shrug. Tomorrow, we'll do a survival exercise. Don't eat breakfast or you'll throw up. Meet at training ground 3 at 5 a.m. sharp. Naruto rolled his eyes. A survival exercise. He could likely breeze through it. But if Kakashi wanted a show, maybe he'd indulge him. Late afternoon training ground observation. Even though he formal test wouldn't happen until morning, Naruto decided to scout out training ground 3. He perched atop a tall tree, scanning the area with his 6 eyes. Sakura had gone home to prepare, and Sasuke was presumably training alone. But Naruto wanted to get a feel for Kakashi's potential approach. He spotted a few hidden traps in the perimeter classic wire setups, perhaps left over from prior exercises. A faint ripple of older chakra residue indicated that genin teams often practiced here. Leaping down, Naruto landed soundlessly on the grass. He inhaled the fresh scent of pine and damp earth. In his previous life, if that's what it was, he'd always done reconnaissance with the same sharp precision. Here, it felt second nature. He tried not to rely solely on Limitless and the 6 eyes for everything. Part of him, the part that was purely Naruto, wanted to be more than just unstoppable techniques. So he scanned with normal senses, kneeling, pressing an ear to the ground, letting the environment speak. A crow cawed overhead. Clouds drifted across the sky. The day felt quiet, but there was an undercurrent of tension, as though someone might be watching. A flicker in the corner of his vision. Naruto stiffened. Danzo's goons again, he muttered under his breath. He spun, but saw nothing. If they were there, they were good at hiding. Or they know better than to confront me directly. He exhaled, standing upright. Whatever was coming tomorrow, he'd be ready. Night training ground 3 elsewhere. In a grove not far away, Kakashi knelt by a small stream. He watched the water flow, mind drifting. The third Hokage had given him a heads up. Naruto Uzumaki is no ordinary genin. He possesses a unique ability Limitless, akin to a space manipulation technique. Kaka, she had seen glimpses of the boy's impossible feats, intangible defenses, pushing foes away without making contact. He'd never encountered anything quite like it. He also knew Sasuke harbored the ambition to kill Itachi, and Sakura seemed more enamored with Sasuke than actually dedicated to honing her skills. What a peculiar team, he thought, eyes distant. Tomorrow, we'll see if they can handle a real test, he murmured. A faint smile curved under his mask. You brats better be ready. Midnight Naruto's apartment. Naruto lay on his bed, arms behind his head, staring at the moonlit ceiling. His thoughts kept drifting to the upcoming test. He wasn't worried, more like curious. Kakashi was rumored to have copied over 1,000 jutsu. But how would that measure against the infinite barrier of Limitless? A swirl of excitement coursed through him. He couldn't deny that part of him craved a real challenge, something to break the monotony of his unstoppable nature. Then his mind wandered to Sasuke's obsession, to the harbinger of tension known as Danzo, to the fleeting kisses with Ino and the subtle longing in Hinata's eyes, reminding him that he was forging connections, whether he intended to or not. I'm living my life on my own terms, he thought, letting sleep tug at his consciousness. No regrets. Early morning training ground 3. The sky was still pale with dawn when Naruto arrived. He found Sasuke already there, leaning against a tree in silent determination. Sakura showed up moments later, yawning. It's nearly 5, Sakura grumbled. Where's Kakashi-sensei? Naruto snickered. He'll be late. Sure enough, Kakashi made his appearance a solid hour behind schedule. By then, Sakura's stomach growled audibly, and Sasuke looked like he was 2 seconds from throwing a kunai at the nearest tree in frustration. Sorry, I got lost on the path of life, Kakashi offered lamely, earning an exasperated groan from Sakura. He motioned for them to gather around. 2 bells dangled from his hand, jingling lightly. The test is simple. Get these bells from me by noon. Whoever fails to get a bell goes back to the academy. He set a small timer on a stump. Start now. Without hesitation, Sasuke and Sakura darted into the foliage, using textbook stealth. Naruto, however, just stood there in plain sight, arms crossed. Kakashi regarded him with mild surprise. You're not going to hide. Naruto smirked. I don't need to. Quote. Confident, I see. Kakashi tucked his little orange book in his vest pocket. Alright, show me what you've got. Naruto vanished in a blur of speed, reappearing behind Kakashi. His fist shot forward, only to pass through empty air. Kakashi had substituted himself with a block of wood, leaving a puff of smoke in his wake. Naruto's 6 eyes traced the Jonin's chakra to the left. But Kakashi was already weaving through hand seals behind another tree. A torrent of water bullets shot out from behind the trunk, forcing Naruto to leap high. He soared gracefully, scanning the treetops, only to sense Kakashi's presence flicker overhead. The Jonin came down with a kunai slash aimed at Naruto's blind spot. But Naruto didn't even bother twisting to face him. Instead, a minute fluctuation in space around him caused the kunai to freeze. Kakashi's single eye widened. He felt as though he were pushing through thick tar, every molecule resisting him. Naruto pivoted midair, a lazy grin on his face. My turn. He flicked the air near Kakashi's chest. A force slammed into Kakashi, knocking him off balance. The Jonin tumbled onto a branch below, breathing heavily, surprised. Kakashi's mind raced. He's warping the space between us. How do I get around that? Landing lightly on the ground, Naruto stuck his hands in his pockets. So, how long do you want to keep this up, sensei? I can just close the distance whenever I want. Rather than answer, Kakashi formed another set of seals. Earth style. Hiding like a mole technique, he vanished beneath the dirt. Aiming to strike from an unexpected angle, Naruto's keen eyes tracked Kakashi's chakra flow even underground. Cheeky. He calmly approached the spot where Kakashi would emerge, using his 6 eyes to anticipate the Jonin's next move. But just as Kakashi popped up, there was a swirl of smoke, a clone. It grabbed for Naruto's ankle. At the same instant, the real Kakashi emerged behind Naruto. Bell-laden hand outstretched to feint him. Naruto's lip curled. Nice try. He raised his palm, warping the space directly in front of Kakashi, who found himself unable to step closer. Then Naruto hopped over the clone's grab, flipping backward in a stylish arc. Kakashi exhaled, stepping back. He's on a completely different level than the usual genin. Still, Naruto hadn't snatched the bells yet, which meant Kakashi had at least one advantage: the test structure. He retreated further into the woods, hoping to force Naruto into a more conventional chase, maybe lure Sasuke or Sakura into attacking from behind. Meanwhile, in the bushes, Sakura watched wide-eyed. He's toying with Kakashi-sensei. Not far away, Sasuke ground his teeth. That doby, he's not even taking this test seriously. Mid-test Sasuke's paw, Sasuke took cover behind dense foliage, arms quivering with tension. The plan he had formed was simple: use Naruto's assault as a distraction to blindside Kakashi. But from what he'd seen, Naruto barely needed help. Damn it, Sasuke thought, eyes narrowing. How can I prove my worth if Naruto just walks all over Kakashi-sensei? He wanted to test his new fireball jutsu and maybe even see if he could glean some insight into Kakashi's reaction time. Yet Naruto was treating this like a game. Anger coiled in Sasuke's chest, fueling his desire to surpass Naruto at all costs. I won't stand in the shadows forever. He darted to a higher vantage point, plotting a pincer attack. Even if Naruto's stronger, I can't let him handle everything alone. Mid-test Sakura's paw, Sakura was torn. She admired Sasuke's determination, but seeing Naruto fight, it was mesmerizing. She'd never witnessed such casual dominance. Yet, the anxiety of failing the exam gnawed at her. If she didn't do something, she might be the one left without a bell. Teamwork, Iruka had always stressed. Maybe she needed to coordinate with them. But would Naruto even accept help? He seemed so above it all. And Sasuke, well, She wasn't sure if he'd let her join in either. She clutched a kunai in her hand, silently cursing her uncertainty. Get it together, Sakura. She steeled herself and sprinted through the thicket, toward the clearing where Naruto was bounding after Kakashi. Mid-test Kakashi's counter. Kakashi realized direct confrontation was hopeless while Naruto's limitless was active. He needed a plan to split the team, exploit their weaknesses. He flicked through another set of seals, Earth-style, double suicide decapitation technique. Emerging behind a thick tree, he spotted Sasuke creeping into position. Perfect. If I can corner Sasuke, maybe Naruto will come to him. But the moment Kakashi lunged at Sasuke, a blur of orange soared in. Naruto had read the attempt via the six eyes. He dropped between Kakashi and Sasuke, forming a quick series of hand seals. Wind release. Gale palm. Naruto exhaled a gust that forced Kakashi back. The Jonin shielded his face with an arm, bells jingling tantalizingly. Move, Dobi, Sasuke growled, furious that Naruto had intervened. Naruto smirked over his shoulder at Sasuke. Don't tell me you actually want to get hit, Uchiha. Sasuke bristled. I don't need your help. Their bickering gave Kakashi an opening to vanish once more. In his place, a log swayed gently. Sakura burst into the clearing, breath hitching as she saw them. Where's Kakashi-sensei? Naruto shrugged. Ran off again. Sasuke exhaled sharply. We'll never get a bell if you keep messing around. Naruto considered the situation, tapping his chin. All right, new plan. We lure him out properly. Sakura blinked. How? A mischievous gleam lit Naruto's eyes. By giving him an actual reason to worry. He gathered chakra in his palm, focusing the concept of space manipulation he'd begun refining. If he unleashed a fraction more of his limitless, it would rattle the entire training ground. Sakura's eyes widened. Whoa, hold on. You'll blow up half the field. Naruto smirked but stopped, remembering Iruka's words about property damage. Fine, I'll dial it back. Suddenly, Kakashi's voice drifted from behind the leaves, calm and collected. You'll do no such thing, Naruto. I have enough trouble with the third scolding me for your creative outbursts. Sasuke hurled a volley of shuriken at the sound. Dozens of metal stars whizzed through the air. Kakashi dodged, stepping into full view. My, you're all still amateurs at stealth. Naruto cracked his knuckles. I'm getting bored, sensei. Boredom is a dangerous enemy, Kakashi murmured, raising a hand. Without warning, he performed a rapid sign. Lightning blade chakra crackled into a concentrated sphere of electricity around his palm, humming ominously. Sakura gasped, eyes going wide. Kakashi-sensei's using that on us. Sasuke stiffened, adrenaline spiking. The lethal aura of that technique was off the charts. Naruto, however, felt a surge of excitement. Finally, something serious. Kakashi launched forward, lightning arc in hand. The ground smoked beneath his feet. Naruto responded by flicking open the infinite barrier around him, focusing it to deflect the brunt of that deadly thrust. Sparks of lightning collided with Naruto's invisible shield. For an instant, the air hissed with sizzling chakra. Kakashi gritted his teeth as his momentum halted. Then Naruto stepped in, placing a hand near Kakashi's chest. Blowback. A gravitational force erupted, sending Kakashi flying back. He skidded across the dirt, the lightning blade sputtering out. Yet, in that split second, Naruto felt a shift. Kakashi had slipped a hand under Naruto's elbow. Snagging the bell's at least one bell in a near impossible angle. But the rope simply slid over Naruto's wrist without taking the bell's metal casing. He'd read a thin barrier around it the instant he sensed Kakashi's intent. Kakashi landed on his feet, empty-handed except for a piece of bell cord. He let out a strained breath. You are something else. Naruto spun the bells around his finger. Looking for these. In the background, Sasuke's mouth tightened. Sakura stared in disbelief. He got the bells. Kakashi gave a lopsided smile beneath his mask. Seems you've passed. Though, he looked at Sasuke and Sakura. Usually the point of this test is teamwork. Will you share the second bell? Naruto's gaze flicked from Kakashi to his teammates. He tossed the second bell toward Sasuke. Surprised, the Uchiha caught it, eyes flickering with a mix of gratitude and frustration. Now what? Naruto asked, hooking the remaining bell onto his belt loop. Kakashi rubbed the back of his neck. Well, the official rule states that one who fails to get a bell goes back to the academy. But, he paused, eyeing Sakura. Maybe we'll call this a pass for the entire team, on one condition. Sakura swallowed. Condition? That from now on, you prioritize teamwork, Kakashi said. Naruto's raw power, Sasuke's drive, and Sakura's intelligence combine those properly, and you might stand aeons. Naruto exchanged a look with Sasuke, who still clutched the bell with white-knuckled fervor. Neither seemed particularly thrilled at relying on the other. Sakura exhaled in relief, nodding quickly. Kakashi clapped once. Team 7, you pass. Noon debrief at the memorial stone. Kakashi led them to a quiet clearing where a black stone stood engraved with the names of fallen shinobi. He gestured for them to sit. Sakura appeared at the memorial. This is a reminder, Kakashi explained softly, of what happens when shinobi forget what truly matters. We fight to protect our comrades. To protect the village. Don't let your egos or personal vendettas overshadow that. Naruto glanced at the stone, feeling a subtle tug in his chest. He considered how many heroes had died to protect Konoha. Despite his enormous power, he recognized that this village's history and sacrifices were far bigger than him alone. Sasuke, too, stared at the stone, expression unreadable but tense. Kakashi gave them a moment before continuing. We'll start taking missions tomorrow. For now, rest up and eat something. He gave Naruto a pointed look, remembering how he'd told them to skip breakfast. We might have some interesting assignments for you soon. With that, the test concluded. Team 7 was official. Afternoon dango shop. Naruto, stomach growling, headed for a popular dango shop near the village's center. The sweet aroma made his mouth water. To his mild surprise, he ran into Anko Mitarashi, a Tokubetsu jonin known for her bold personality. She stood by the counter, fishing out a few coins to pay for her order. She glanced at Naruto. Huh, aren't you a bit young to be addicted to sweets? Naruto shrugged casually. What can I say? I have a sweet tooth. Anko's lips curved in a sly grin. Guess I can't judge. I practically live on dango. Something about her intrigued Naruto. Maybe it was the confident swagger, or the rumored connection to Orochimaru. He made no secret of the way he eyed her. And Anko raised an eyebrow at his audacity. You're that kid, right? The one everyone's talking about. Naruto Uzumaki. Heard you're packing some crazy jutsu. He gave a half smile. That's me. Also heard you're the wild kunoichi of the village. Full of surprises. She leaned in, a spark in her eye. Don't push your luck, brat. He chuckled. If I do, will you push back? For a moment, they locked gazes. A playful challenge crackling between them. Then Anko shrugged, grabbed her sticks of dango, and turned to leave. Let's just say, I like guys who can keep up. Naruto watched her go, grin spreading. This village gets more interesting every day. Evening Hokage's office. Later, Naruto found himself summoned to the Hokage's office again. No formal notice, just an Anbu dropping by to say. The Hokage requests your presence. When he arrived, the third was waiting behind his desk, pipe in hand. Kakashi stood nearby, arms folded, posture relaxed. Hiruzen greeted Naruto with a stern nod. I hear the bell test went, uniquely. Kakashi rubbed the back of his neck. You could say that. Naruto practically waltzed through it. The Hokage sighed, though his eyes glimmered with relief. At least you didn't destroy half the training ground. Naruto shrugged. I listened, didn't I? Yes, you did, Hiruzen replied. He took a contemplative puff of his pipe. I have a mission in mind for Team 7. Something simple to start, though perhaps not too simple. An escort mission across the Land of Fire's border. Naruto tilted his head, curiosity piqued. Sounds routine. Who's the client? Hiruzen handed Kakashi a scroll. Details are here. Technically, it's AC rank, but the client's route might pass near territory with rogue bandits. Keep your guard up. Kakashi accepted the scroll with a nod. Understood. Before Naruto could exit, Hiruzen said quietly, Naruto, be mindful out there. Not every enemy will fight you head-on. Some might try to exploit your teammates, your attachments. Don't let your confidence blind you. For a moment, Naruto considered the Hokage's words. The swirl of Gojo's memories reminded him that arrogance could be a weakness if it led to complacency. He gave a short nod. I'll keep my eyes open, old man. Night rooftop overlooking Konoha. Team 7's first official mission was set for dawn. Naruto perched on a rooftop, gazing at the moon once again. He sensed a presence behind him and pivoted slightly. It was Sasuke, standing with arms crossed, eyes hard. You're not the only one who likes rooftops, Sasuke muttered, stepping forward. He paused, as if mustering the will to say something more personal. Tomorrow. Don't get in my way. Naruto chuckled. I could say the same. They stood in tense silence, two young shinobi on the cusp of a journey that might define them. Finally, Sasuke broke away, heading toward his clan's compound. Naruto watched him go, exhaling slowly. One day, maybe we'll see eye to eye or maybe we'll be forced to clash. Either outcome stirred a strange excitement in him. He turned his gaze back to the moonlit village. The harem of admirers, the swirling conspiracies, the looming threat of Orochimaru, Danzo's hidden maneuvers, none of it felt heavy. If anything, it fueled him. This is my world, Naruto thought, a faint smirk curving his lips. And I'm just getting started. Deep underground root hideout. Tor. Chest flickered against cold stone walls as Danzo contemplated a recent report. A masked root operative knelt before him, voice low. He breezed through the bell test. Kakashi Hatake confirmed his abilities to manipulate space, rendering direct taijutsu nearly useless. Danzo's single visible eye narrowed. So Kakashi can't keep him in check. HMPH. That boy's power is growing too quickly. He turned, letting his cane echo against the stone floor. Continue surveillance. Wait for an opportunity. The moment he shows an exploitable weakness, we'll move. The operative bowed deeply. Yes, Danzo-sama. Danzo's voice dropped to a murmur. Cold and determined. Naruto Uzumaki. One day, you will serve Konoha's interests. Whether you want or not. End of Chapter 2. Newly minted genin and armed with unstoppable power. Naruto completes the bell test in dramatic fashion, establishing the volatility and potential of Team 7. Kakashi sees firsthand the phenomenon of Naruto's limitless technique, while Sasuke's resentment and Sakura's uncertainties simmer beneath the surface. Sparks fly as Naruto's flirtations deepen, especially with Ino, and even the bold Anko crosses his path. Meanwhile, the dark underbelly of Konoha stirs. Danzo tightens his surveillance, seeking a chance to control Naruto. Unknown foes lurk in the shadows, hinting at threats beyond the village walls. Next, Team 7 embarks on their first real mission, a seemingly routine escort that may escalate into something far more dangerous, testing not only Naruto's powers but also the fragile bonds of his new team. Dawn. Konoha's main gate. Naruto adjusted the weight of his backpack as Team 7 gathered at Konoha's entrance. Kakashi stood off to one side, eyeing the horizon with his usual lazy air. Sakura clutched her own pack, yawning. Sasuke silently double-checked his gear. Their client, a wiry, gray-haired bridge builder named Tazuna, stood a few paces away, arms folded, looking both anxious and unimpressed by his escorts. This is my protection. A couple of snot-nosed brats and a masked scarecrow. Naruto nearly rolled his eyes but stopped himself, recalling the Hokage's advice to maintain some restraint. He just gave Tazuna a carefree shrug. You'll be safe enough, old man. Trust me. Tazuna huffed. We'll see about that. Kakashi cleared his throat. All right, Team 7, let's move out. They passed through the towering gates of Konoha, stepping onto a winding dirt road that disappeared into a sea of trees. This would be their first true village AC rank escort that might become more if trouble appeared. Naruto walked at the front, hands laced behind his head. He glanced back once to see Sasuke glaring daggers at him. Sakura trudged between them, glancing uncertainly from one to the other. Kakashi brought up the rear, single visible eye sweeping their surroundings. A brief flicker of memory hit Naruto. In his dreams, he'd often traveled alone, unstoppable, unmatched Satoru Gojo crossing cursed-ridden lands. Now, though, he was part of a team, albeit a shaky one. An odd warmth sparked inside him. Even if he found this slow pace dull, it was different and not entirely unwelcome. Mid-morning forest road. Hours later, they were deep in a forest lined with tall evergreens. The path was quiet but for the crunch of gravel underfoot. Tizuna muttered something about the cost of building materials, ignoring the group's chatter. Sakura glanced at the trees. So far, so good. Looks safe. Kakashi didn't let his guard down, though. Keep your eyes open. Naruto picked up a faint trace of chakra in the air, subtle but definitely there. With the 6 eyes, he pinpointed 2 concealed presences behind a thick knot of foliage a little way ahead. A surge of excitement flared in his chest. Finally, something interesting. He slowed his pace, letting Sasuke and Sakura walk a step or 2 ahead. Sure enough, a moment later, 2 shapes burst from a puddle in the road, a trap disguised by a simple water-based genjutsu. Metal chains lashed out, aimed at the nearest targets, Kakashi and Tizuna. Naruto vanished in a blur, reappearing between Tizuna and the attackers. The chain links screeched to a halt inches from Naruto's face, halted by an invisible barrier. One of the masked assassins growled in confusion. Sasuke, spurred to action, hurled a volley of kunai. The second attacker twisted aside, but a kunai grazed his shoulder. Sakura hopped back, guarding Tizuna, heart pounding. Kakashi seemed momentarily surprised that Naruto had moved faster than even he anticipated. The first assassin tried to yank his chain free of the space-bending trap, only to feel Naruto's gaze pierce him. Naruto smirked. You picked the wrong day to cause trouble. He snapped his fingers, and a localized shockwave rippled out, sending both attackers crashing into nearby trunks. One let out a ragged cough, struggling to regain his footing. The other slumped, partially dazed. Kakashi swiftly cuffed them with ninja wire while they were stunned. Then eyed Naruto. Your reaction time was impressive. Naruto shrugged, trying to stifle the urge to brag. They weren't exactly subtle. Tizuna's face had gone pale. Who are these guys? I thought this was just a safe escort. Kakashi removed the attackers' masks, revealing 2 missing nin from the hidden mist. They must have been after you. Care to explain, Tizuna? Tizuna's eyes darted nervously. The truth is, there's a dangerous man who doesn't want my bridge project completed. I didn't have enough money to pay for more than AC rank mission, so I lied about the threat level. Sakura gasped. You lied. We could have been killed. Naruto snorted. Speak for yourself. These jokers were no problem. Sasuke, though annoyed, just glared at Tizuna, crossing his arms. So it's a bigger job than you claimed. Kakashi exhaled a heavy sigh, turning to the group. We can decide to abandon the mission, by protocol. But, Naruto cut in. Let's keep going. I'm bored, anyway. Sakura looked uncertain, but she remembered the moment Naruto had easily neutralized the attackers. Sasuke smoldered with a desire to prove himself. Backing out now would feel like cowardice. Kakashi studied his 3 genin. All right, we'll continue. He turned to Tizuna, voice firm. But next time, be upfront. Tizuna nodded sheepishly, relief washing across his features. Thank you. I promise. Once the bridge is done, it'll help the land of waves so much. Naruto rolled his shoulders, scanning the quiet forest with renewed vigilance. Something told him there was more to come. Noon land of fire's border. They reached a narrow river crossing where a small boat was waiting. The boatman waved them over, keeping his voice low. Hurry, get in, we need to cross secretly. Tizuna and Kakashi led the way, with the genin helping load their supplies. As the boat drifted out, Naruto could sense tension in the air. The thick fog rolling in felt oppressive, carrying the tang of saltwater. He glanced at Sasuke, who gripped the edge of the boat, brow furrowed. Sakura sat close to Tizuna, scanning the dark shoreline. Kakashi remained perched at the bow, hand hovering near his kunai pouch. Naruto closed his eyes, letting the hum of the 6 eyes wash over the water. He could sense faint chakra traces out in the distance, someone powerful. The water itself seemed unsettled, as if haunted by an undercurrent of dread. A new opponent, he thought, anticipation stirring. Late afternoon land of waves shore. They disembarked on a small, rocky shore. Wooden planks led through a swampy area. Thick reeds towering overhead. The air was clammy, the landscape bleak. Tizuna led them onward, describing how the land of waves had once thrived before Gojo, a wealthy tyrant, started monopolizing trade routes. Naruto listened with half an ear. He was more focused on the approaching forested path. Up ahead, a heavy mist settled, and Naruto sensed a spike in chakra. Kakashi halted, raising a hand to signal them to stop. Then, with a sudden whoosh, a giant sword spun through the air, lodging itself into a tree trunk. A tall figure landed on the blade's handle, face half covered by bandages. A hidden mist headband angled across his forehead. Zabuza Momochi, Kakashi muttered, posture tensing. The demon of the hidden mist. Zabuza's voice was low, mocking. Hand over the old man, and I might let the rest of you live. Quote. Tazuna shuddered behind Sakura, who stared up at Zabuza's towering form in shock. Sasuke gripped a kunai, sweat beading on his forehead. Naruto's pulse quickened. He could feel the raw killing intent pouring off Zabuza, but it didn't frighten him, it excited him. Finally, a real threat. Kakashi lifted his forehead protector, revealing the Sharingan. Team 7, protect Tazuna. Stay back unless I give the signal. Naruto smirked. We'll see about that. Zabuza leapt down, flipping his sword with ease. Well, Kakashi of the Sharingan, let's see if you live up to your reputation. Without hesitation, Zabuza formed hand signs, creating a thick shroud of mist. The temperature seemed to drop, and visibility plummeted. Sakura swallowed hard. I can barely see. From somewhere in the swirling fog, Kakashi's voice rang out, calm yet urgent. Stay close to Tazuna. Zabuza's laughter echoed. I'll kill you first, Kakashi, then the old man. A sudden hush fell. Naruto narrowed his eyes, swirling his limitless around him in a subtle field. Even in zero visibility, he could sense movement. Sure enough, Zabuza flashed in, swinging his massive blade at Kakashi. Steel clashed with steel as Kakashi parried with a kunai, the force sending shockwaves through the air. Then Zabuza vanished again into the mist, reappearing behind Kakashi, forming a sequence of seals at blinding speed. Water clone technique. A clone lunged for Sasuke and Sakura, blade raised. Sasuke mustered his courage, hurling shuriken at the clone, and one embedded in its shoulder. The clone faltered but kept coming. Naruto stepped in, flicking his wrist. Enough. Space distorted. The water clone disintegrated under the compressive force, splashing back into liquid. Sakura stared, heart hammering, half in awe. Meanwhile, the real Zabuza pinned Kakashi with a swirl of water, forming the water prison technique around him. Kakashi struggled, half submerged in a spherical barrier of fluid. His Sharingan eye glared through the shimmering surface. Stay back, Kakashi warned, voice muffled. You K'd on. He's too dangerous. But Naruto had other ideas. With Kakashi trapped, Tazuna vulnerable, and Sasuke paralyzed between fear and fury, Naruto felt the thrill of stepping up. Zabuza sneered. One brat can't stand against me. Naruto smirked. You have no idea. A shimmering aura unfurled around Naruto. The intangible barrier of limitless. Zabuza's eyes narrowed at the sudden shift in pressure. Sasuke, adrenaline pumping, joined Naruto's flank. Dobi, we have to free Kakashi-sensei. Right. Naruto nodded. I'll deal with the big guy. You find an opening. Zabuza laughed hoarsely, maintaining the water prison with one hand. Bravado will get you killed, kid. Naruto dashed forward, eyes locked on Zabuza. The swordsman brought his giant blade around in a deadly arc. Naruto saw it coming, but instead of dodging, he let the blade come within inches where it froze in mid-swing. Slowed infinitely by the limitless field, Zabuza's expression changed from arrogance to alarm. He strained to move the blade that refused to slice forward. What the? Naruto pressed his hand against the flat of Zabuza's sword. A shockwave rippled outward, forcing Zabuza to release Kakashi in order to brace himself against the sudden blast. Kakashi dropped free of the water prison, gasping for air. Sasuke seized the moment, flicking through hand seals. Fireball jutsu. The torrent of flame rushed at Zabuza's unguarded side. But Zabuza twisted, forming a quick seal. Water erupted to meet the flames, steam billowing around them. Still, his stance wavered, and Kakashi regained his footing. Kakashi coughed, water dripping from his vest. Naruto, Sasuke, good job. Zabuza attempted to reform the water prison. But Kakashi's Sharingan began to trace his moves in real time. The Jonin mirrored Zabuza's hand seals, culminating in a clash of water dragon jutsu. Two massive serpents of water coiled and slammed into each other midair, drenching the battlefield. Naruto shielded Tazuna and Sakura from the onslaught with a small barrier, droplets spraying across his invisible field in a glittering arc. Sasuke stared, wide-eyed. So that's Kakashi's power with the Sharingan. The water dragons cancelled each other out in a titanic crash, leaving Kakashi and Zabuza panting, knee-deep in swirling water. Zabuza scowled. Damn copy ninja. Kakashi locked eyes with Zabuza. This fight is over. Before Zabuza could retort, Naruto rushed in with a burst of speed, using the moment Zabuza was distracted by Kakashi's genjutsu. Naruto's punch collided with Zabuza's chest, except he never truly touched him. The compressed space between them slammed Zabuza backward, toppling him into the water. Coughing, Zabuza tried to stand, but a swift needle-like projectile whipped through the air, impaling him in the neck. He froze, then collapsed. Everyone spun to see a masked hunter nin from the hidden mist perched on a branch. Eyes solemn above a porcelain mask. The masked ninja spoke softly. "Thank you. I've been tracking Zabuza. I'll dispose of his body." Kakashi, breath still ragged, nodded warily. "A hunter nin, huh?" The masked ninja nodded, leapt down, and hauled Zabuza's body away before anyone could question further. The thick mist began to dissipate. Sakura exhaled in relief. Is it really over?" Naruto frowned, glancing at the retreating figure. Something in his gut told him they hadn't seen the last of Zabuza. Kakashi watched the masked hunter nin disappear into the distance. "I'm not fully convinced. But for now, Tazuna is safe. Let's keep moving." Sasuke lowered his kunai, adrenaline wearing off. "That was insane." He glared at Naruto. "But we freed Kakashi-sensei because I helped." Naruto gave a shrug. "Sure, whatever makes you feel better." Tazuna seemed too shaken to argue, but relief was evident on his face. "Let's get to my house." Evening. Tazuna's home. The Y arrived at a modest house on the outskirts of the bridge construction site. Tazuna's daughter, Tsunami, welcomed them warmly despite the tension in her eyes. She insisted they rest for the night. Kakashi collapsed onto a tatami mat, breathing heavily. "That water prison took a lot out of me." Sakura hovered, concerned. "Should we treat your injuries?" He waved her off. "I'm okay, just need to recover my chakra." Naruto stood near a small window, scanning the darkening sky. That hunter nin was suspicious. Could have just been me. Kakashi looked up at him. "Your instincts may be right. There is a possibility that Zabuza is still alive. Hunter nin usually dispose of bodies on the spot, not haul them away." Sasuke, kneeling in a corner, clenched his fists. "So we might face him again." Naruto's lips twisted into a half grin. "Good. I'll beat him properly next time." Sakura glanced at Naruto. "You talk like you enjoy it." He turned, shrugging. "Isn't that what being a shinobi is about? If we have to fight, might as well do it well." Sakura sighed, exhaustion catching up to her. In truth, she was grateful Naruto and Sasuke had been there. Zabuza's killing intent had nearly frozen her in place. Kakashi coughed lightly, drawing their attention. "Take tonight to rest. We'll reevaluate tomorrow." Naruto dipped his head, then stepped outside, seeking some fresh air. Night outside Tazuna's house. The land of waves sky was thick with clouds, blocking out the stars. A chilly breeze swept through the narrow street. Naruto leaned against a wooden post, arms crossed, letting his senses wander. He felt the presence of a small figure behind him. Turning, he saw Tsunami's young son, Inari, staring. Inari's eyes were puffy, as though he'd been crying. "Why do you bother, ninja? Gojo will kill everyone who stands against him. You're all going to die." Naruto raised an eyebrow at the kid's gloomy tone. "I've seen your grandfather, he's tough. And we're not exactly pushovers." Inari sniffled. "That doesn't matter. Gojo has too many hired thugs. You'll fail. People always fail us. My dad was killed. No one can save us." Naruto felt a twinge of empathy. He remembered what loneliness felt like. But the child's despair also triggered a quiet anger in him. How many people had turned their backs on someone who needed hope? He crouched down to meet Inari's eye level. "Listen, I can't promise everything will be perfect. But I'm sure as hell not giving up. I have a rule. No one decides my fate but me. And if that means crushing Gojo's goons, that's what I'll do." Inari blinked, tears threatening to spill. "Why would you care?" Naruto's gaze softened. For a moment, a flicker of Gojo's old memory rose up, helping people who felt powerless, a vow to protect the weak. He forced a small smile. Because no one deserves to lose hope. Inari stared at him for a second longer, then ran inside without another word. Naruto sighed and straightened, wondering if he said the right thing. A rustle behind him signaled Sasuke's approach. The Uchiha eyed him suspiciously. "You're good with kids." Naruto shrugged. "Not exactly. Kids hurting. We've all lost something, right?" Sasuke stared at the house. His expression tightened, memories of the Uchiha massacre likely stirring. After a moment, he said, "Zabuza was on a different level than those assassins. If he comes back, we need to be stronger." Agreed. They stood in uneasy silence, two rivals momentarily united by a common purpose. Late night Naruto's path. Unable to sleep, Naruto wandered to the edge of Tazuna's property, near He dark waters that lapped against a rickety pier. A salt-tinged wind brushed his face. He closed his eyes, letting the hush of the night sharpen his thoughts. His mind drifted to the fight, the thrill, the ease with which he'd warped Zabuza's sword mid-swing. Had he gone too far in revealing his technique? If the wrong eyes saw that, it could invite even more trouble. A memory of danced through his mind. He clenched his fists, forcing the thought away. "I won't hide just because some old snake wants to control me." Footsteps approached Sakura this time. She stepped onto the pier, arms wrapped around herself to ward off the chill. "Couldn't sleep," she said by way of greeting. Naruto nodded. "Same." She hesitated before speaking again. "Naruto, back in the fight, you looked excited. Even though Zabuza could have killed us." He studied her face in the faint moonlight. "I guess I was. Does that bother you?" She shrugged uncomfortably. "I don't know. You're not scared of anything, are you?" A wry smile touched his lips. "Not really. I get cautious, but fear, not so much. Maybe I'm too confident, but it keeps me moving forward." Sakura gazed at him, a mix of wonder and exasperation. "Just be careful. Your strength is amazing, but I think it could isolate you if you're not careful." Her words struck a chord. That was exactly what had haunted Satoru Gojo, being so powerful that normal connections felt out of reach. Naruto forced a half laugh. "I'll keep that in mind." They stood there a while, the moon slipping between dark clouds. Eventually, Sakura shuffled back toward the house, leaving Naruto alone with the quiet waves. "I'm not alone," he reminded himself. "As long as I remember that, I'll be fine." Morning training with Kakashi. At dawn, Kakashi insisted on some training before Tazuna resumed work on the bridge. He needed to gauge how each genin handled chakra control and physical conditioning. Sasuke volunteered to train first, launching kunai at makeshift targets around a clearing. Kakashi gave pointers, occasionally praising his accuracy. Sakura mostly practiced basic ninjutsu, looking more determined than usual. Naruto, bored, ran laps around the clearing while simultaneously practicing the intangible extension of his limitless field. He flicked pebbles into the air, letting them float just within the threshold, manipulating the distance so they never quite touched him. Kakashi watched with narrowed eyes. "Naruto, that ability is beyond anything I've seen. You're warping space itself." Naruto paused, letting a pebble drop. "Yeah, it's called the limitless. I can make the distance between me and anything else infinite, or close to it." Sasuke stopped throwing kunai, overhearing. "That's insane." Kakashi approached slowly. "Have you considered the strain it puts on your chakra?" Naruto shrugged. "It's not that bad. I have more chakra than I know what to do with, probably because of the fox, plus my own reserves." He didn't mention the six eyes Chi let him manage his energy so efficiently. Kakashi rubbed his chin. "Still, be cautious. Relying too heavily on a single technique can lead to blind spots." Naruto nodded, though he wondered if that was truly possible when the six eyes let him perceive everything around him. Even so, Kakashi's point was valid. Unpredictability was key in a real fight. Mid-training Sakura's paw, Sakura saw how Naruto and Sasuke pushed themselves, Naruto's relentless flare, Sasuke's burning drive. She felt a pang of inadequacy. While they clashed with Zabuza on equal footing, she'd mostly protected Tazuna. "But I won't be useless," she thought. Eyes determined, she channeled her chakra into a series of practice dummies, working on precision. Even if her raw power couldn't match Naruto's or Sasuke's, she could refine her techniques, minimize waste. and strike exact weak points. Kakashi eventually nodded in approval. Good progress, Sakura. Focus on your strengths. Intelligence, accuracy, and timing. She smiled, grateful for the encouragement. Maybe she'd never fling around unstoppable jutsu like Naruto, but she could still stand strong. Late morning bridge construction site. Tazuna led them to the half-finished bridge stretching across turbulent waters. Workers toiled with grim determination, each nail hammered echoing with their resolve to complete this project. The sky overhead was a dull gray, as if reflecting the country's hardships. Naruto looked out at the choppy sea, impressed by the sheer scale of the construction. Wow, you're really building all this by hand. Tazuna sighed, wiping sweat from his brow. We do what we must. If this bridge is completed, ships can come through without paying Gojo's outrageous fees. Kakashi leaned on a railing, eye scanning the horizon. Stay alert. Zabuza or Gojo's men could strike any moment. Sasuke nodded, patrolling the site's perimeter. Sakura stuck close to Tazuna. Naruto perched on a high support beam, scanning everything with the six eyes. He caught a glimpse of something moving on the far side, just a flash of a figure among the scaffolding. His instincts prickled. Company. A second later, a group of armed thugs rushed onto the bridge, brandishing swords and clubs. One with a scarred face roared, "Get lost, old man. Gojo owns this bridge." Naruto leapt down, grinning as he cracked his knuckles. "You punks must have a death wish." The thugs hesitated, but then recognized that Naruto was just a kid. They charged, shouting threats. Naruto flickered forward, weaving around their swipes with disorienting ease. Each time a blade came near, it slowed to a crawl in his eyes. He delivered swift, precise blows that sent them sprawling. Sasuke joined in, cutting off the escape route. Sakura kept Tazuna behind her, brandishing kunai. Workers scattered, panicked, but Kakashi calmly directed them to a safer distance. Within moments, the thugs lay groaning on the bridge floor. Naruto dusted off his hands. Too easy. But the tension lingered. Kakashi surveyed the fallen thugs. No sign of Zabuza. These are just hired goons, testing our defenses, maybe. Tazuna exhaled shakily. They'll keep coming, won't they? Kakashi nodded. Quote, until you finish the bridge or until Gojo decides to send someone more dangerous. Naruto felt a tug of impatience. Bring them on. I'm tired of half measures. He turned back to the ocean, letting wind carry the briny scent across his face. Somewhere out there, a real challenge awaited, and Naruto was more than ready for it. Afternoon. Tazuna's home. They returned, only to find Tsunami in a NSE standoff with more of Gojo's men who had snuck in, holding Inari hostage. The boy trembled, tears in his eyes. One thug pressed a knife to Tsunami's throat. Back off, or she dies. Naruto reacted instantly, warping the space around the thug's arms so he couldn't move the knife any closer. The man's eyes bulged as he realized his limb was effectively locked in place. Sasuke rushed in, disarming him with a sharp twist. Sakura moved to shield Inari, who was sobbing in relief. Kakashi neutralized the remaining thugs. Tsunami collapsed to her knees, hugging Inari tight. Thank you. Naruto crouched beside them, checking for injuries. Inari looked up at him, tears streaming down his face. You saved my mom. Naruto gave a small grin. Told you I wasn't giving up. Inari's lip quivered. Then, sudden resolve lit his eyes. I'm sorry for what I said. You're really trying to help us. Naruto ruffled the kid's hair gently. No big deal. He stood, exchanging a glance with Kakashi. These attacks are getting bolder. Kakashi murmured, Zabuza could be waiting for us to drop our guard. This may not be over. Late afternoon. Secret clearing. With Gojo's men prowling, Kakashi decided to do some final training in a secluded spot while Tazuna's workers continued as best they could on the bridge. They couldn't keep reacting. They needed to be ready for whatever was coming. Naruto found a calm spot by a narrow stream, focusing on refining his synergy with the Nine Tails chakra. In the past, he mostly drew on it unconsciously, but now his advanced perception gave him glimpses of how that power intertwined with his own. He channeled a fraction of the fox's energy, letting it swirl around him in a less barrier flickered in response, momentarily blending with the red haze. A surge of raw potency coursed through him, making the air vibrate. Sasuke, watching from a distance, felt a spark of both envy and awe. He's tapping into something even deeper. Despite the tension, Naruto managed a smirk. If I can combine these energies, I'll be unstoppable. But the memory of a blindfolded figure intruded Gojo, standing in a realm of swirling curses. Absolute power can still come with consequences. He shook off the doubt. I won't be caged by worry. Meanwhile, Kakashi had Sakura practicing tree walking and water walking for better chakra control. Sasuke joined in, refusing to be left behind. From the corner of his vision, Sasuke kept glancing at Naruto, as if trying to decipher the secrets behind his abilities. Naruto caught Sasuke's stare. He raised an eyebrow. Need something? Sasuke bristled. Shut up. I'm just making sure you don't show me up too badly. Naruto shrugged. Keep at it. You might surprise me one day. Evening quiet before the storm. As night fell, the team reconvened at Tazuna's house. Dinner was a subdued affair. Everyone sensed that a final confrontation was looming. Tazuna offered them shaky thanks. Tsunami served soup, her hands trembling slightly. Sakura finished her meal quickly, then helped Tsunami tidy up. Sasuke sat at the table, brooding in silence. Kakashi quietly studied a map of the area, planning possible defense strategies. Naruto excused himself and stepped outside, where the stars finally pierced through the clouds. A light wind brushed his hair, carrying the faint sound of waves against the shore. He sensed a presence near the edge of the yard. Inari again. The boy stood there, fists clenched. Inari looked up, eyes determined. I'm sorry for being such a crybaby. My dad used to say real heroes never give up. I want to be brave too. Naruto knelt, meeting Inari's gaze. You've already started. Just keep going. Inari sniffed but nodded. I will. And if Gato's men come again, I'll protect Mom. Naruto ruffled his hair. That's the spirit. As he stood, a wave of something like pride washed over him, an odd feeling of satisfaction that someone else found hope through him. He realized that beneath his cockiness, he genuinely cared. The old Naruto had always dreamed of acknowledgement and warmth, and the Satoru Gojo memories told him that power should be used to protect what mattered. Maybe, in this new life, he could blend both desires. He looked at the quiet sea, a steely resolution forming in his mind. Tomorrow, if Zabuza shows his face again, we end this. Night. Zabuza's hideout, in a dimly lit cabin on the other side of the island. Zabuza lay on a makeshift bed, bandages covering his neck wound. The masked hunter Nin Haku knelt at his side, preparing medicinal herbs. Zabuza's voice came out rough. That brat, he manipulated space. I couldn't land a single hit. Haku nodded. He's unusual, but Kakashi's also formidable. They nearly killed you. Zabuza glowered. TCH. Next time, I won't underestimate them. My sword can cut through anything. There has to be a way around that brat's jutsu. Haku placed a damp cloth on Zabuza's forehead. We'll strike again once you're healed. Their client still breathes, so we haven't failed yet. Zabuza clenched his fists, recalling the humiliation of being pinned by a genin. Naruto Uzumaki, you won't catch me off guard again. Haku glanced at the battered blades stacked nearby. I'll do whatever it takes. Zabuza-sama, for our dream. Zabuza nodded, the swirl of resentment fueling him. We'll kill Kakashi, that space-bending brat, and finish the bridge builder. If we don't, Gato won't pay up. And if Gato double-crosses us, well, I'll kill him too. Dawn. The final face-off. Word reached Tazuna that the construction crew would attempt a final push to complete the bridge today. Despite the danger, he insisted on going. Team 7 accompanied him, hearts braced for battle. Kakashi's expression was guarded, Sharingan hidden beneath his forehead protector for now. As they stepped onto the partially finished bridge, fog began to coil around the beams, thicker than any normal morning mist. Naruto's adrenaline spiked. He's here. Kakashi motioned for Tazuna to stay back. Sasuke, Naruto, Sakura form up. Out of the swirling haze, Zabuza emerged, sword resting on his shoulder. Haku stood beside him, eyes sorrowful but resolute behind the hunter Nin mask. Zabuza locked gazes with Kakashi. We have unfinished business. Kakashi lifted his headband, revealing the Sharingan. Seems that way. In an instant, chaos erupted. Zabuza dashed at Kakashi, blades slicing horizontally. Kakashi parried, the clang of steel echoing in the murky air. Mist thickened, blotting out the sun, forcing everyone into a realm of silhouettes. Sasuke found himself face to face with Haku, who formed a series of hand seals. Ice mirrors shimmered into existence, surrounding Sasuke in a crystal dome. Sasuke launched kunai at Haku's reflection, only for them to clink harmlessly off the mirrors. Sakura hovered protectively near Tazuna, scanning the whiteness for any sign of incoming threats. Her heart pounded, but she refused to falter. Naruto, meanwhile, locked onto Zabuza's dark silhouette. He wasn't about to let Kakashi handle this alone. He rushed forward, ignoring the swirl of water around the demon swordsman. Zabuza snarled, recalling their last encounter. Brat. He swung the blade, expecting it to stop on that cursed barrier. Naruto grinned, letting it slow to a millimeter from his neck. Same trick won't work twice, huh? He twisted his palm, sending a concussive wave that forced Zabuza back. But Zabuza had improved his approach. He dropped a water clone behind Naruto while he was mid-attack. The clone slashed at Naruto's back, only to meet the same invisible wall. Naruto spun, jabbing 2 fingers at the clone. A short burst of force destroyed it. Kakashi took advantage, weaving a lightning-charged jutsu around Zabuza. But Zabuza sank into water form at the last second, evading a direct hit. They clashed again, the bridge rattling beneath the force of their strikes. Elsewhere, Sasuke's world was a prison of gleaming ice. Haku zipped from mirror to mirror with blinding speed. Senbon needles whistling through the air. Sasuke winced as a senbon grazed his arm. Another embedded in his leg. I can't keep up, Sasuke thought, frustration gripping him. He tried unleashing a fire jutsu. But the mirrors merely steamed momentarily before remaining intact. From the outside, Naruto spotted the dome of ice forming, glimpsing Sasuke's frantic movements within. He clenched his jaw. He's in trouble. He prepared to rush over, but Zabuza cut him off. Don't ignore me. The swordsman brought his massive blade down, aiming to slice Naruto in half. Naruto's barrier flared, halting the blade, but Zabuza poured on raw brute force, pressing the blade forward. For a moment, it felt as if the sword might edge a fraction closer. Naruto gritted his teeth, intensifying the limitless to widen the gap. Zabuza's arms trembled under the strain. You can't keep this up forever, brat. Naruto smirked, though sweat beaded on his temple. Wanna bet? A surge of chakra flared from Kakashi, who soared in with a well-timed strike. Lightning blade. The electrified thrust cut through the fog like a beacon. Zabuza barely wrenched his blade away in time to guard, steel scraping in a shower of sparks. You focus on freeing Sasuke, Kakashi yelled to Naruto. Naruto nodded, slipping away. Zabuza tried to pursue, but Kakashi blocked him, eyes flashing red with the Sharingan's swirling tomo. Your opponent is me. Naruto sprinted toward Haku's ice dome, each mirror reflecting the masked ninja's flickering image. Sasuke gasped inside, favoring a wounded leg. Senbon needles littered the ground around him. Haku paused, noticing Naruto approach. You won, easily. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Maybe not with brute force. But who said I need brute force? He placed a palm on one of the mirrors, focusing a subtle distortion into its crystalline structure. The air shimmered, and the mirror cracked. Haku's eyes widened. He's warping the space inside the ice. A spiderweb of churish spread across the mirror's surface, and with a sudden shatter, it collapsed. Haku leapt to another mirror, but Naruto repeated the action, warping each mirror's internal structure. Sasuke saw an opening. He flung a barrage of shuriken, forcing Haku to dodge midair. Blood trickled down Sasuke's forehead, but a fierce determination burned in his dark eyes. Haku landed, breathing heavily. Why do you fight so hard? You could run. Naruto's gaze hardened. That's not what we do. Not me, not Sasuke, not our team. Haku hesitated, sorrow flickering in those masked eyes. Then you leave me no choice. He formed rapid hand seals. Secret jutsu. Crystal ice mirrors. The dome began to reform with more speed. Sasuke grit his teeth, battered from the earlier needles. Naruto, not giving Haku a chance, lunged. He reached out with both hands, warping the space around Haku's arms so he couldn't bring them together for the final seal. Haku gasped, feeling his limbs freeze mid-motion. Sasuke took advantage, launching a last-ditch fireball jutsu. Flames roared across the gap, striking Haku's side. The masked ninja cried out, staggering, mask cracking. Naruto followed up, a quick palm strike that unleashed a localized shockwave. Haku flew back, crashing into the remnants of an ice mirror. Shards scattered, dissolving into mist. Panting, Sasuke clutched his wounded leg. Naruto dropped to a knee beside him. "You all right, Uchiha?" Quote. Sasuke's glare softened slightly. "I'm fine, thanks." Before they could finish, a tortured howl resounded from the other side of the bridge. Zabuza stumbled, lightning dancing across his chest. Kakashi stood over him, breath ragged. Zabuza coughed, blood trickling from his lips. "Damn you, Kakashi." Haku pushed himself up, mask sliding off to reveal a delicate, pain-stricken face. He limped toward Zabuza. "Zabuza-sama." Naruto's eyes flicked between them. Part of him felt a pang of sympathy for Haku, who clearly cared for the ruthless swordsman. But then, a swarm of mercenaries appeared at the far end of the bridge, led by a smirking, short-statured man in a business suit, Gojo himself. "Zabuza, you failure. Looks like I don't have to pay you after all." Zabuza spat, fury twisting his features. "You double-crossing scum." Gojo's goons advanced, brandishing weapons. "We'll kill all of you, then toss you in the sea." Sakura gripped her kunai. Chizuna trembled but stood firm, looking more resolute than ever. Zabuza let out a bitter laugh. "Haku, we've been used. Time to settle this." With a last burst of strength, he charged into Gojo's men, slashing wildly. Haku followed, defending Zabuza's flank. The goons yelled and flailed, outmatched despite Zabuza's injuries. Kakashi signaled Team 7 to join in, ensuring no stragglers harassed Chizuna. Naruto didn't hesitate, flickering through the crowd, warping space to send thugs crashing into one another. Sasuke fought with single-minded intensity, venting his anger in a flurry of precise strikes. Sakura stayed close to Chizuna, but whenever a thug got too close, she delivered sharp kunai hits. Eventually, the outnumbered mercenaries turned tail and ran, Gojo among them until Zabuza caught him. The swordsman, blood staining his bandages, glared at the cowardly man. Then, with a final slash, he ended Gojo's hold on the land of waves. Exhausted, Zabuza collapsed to his knees, leaning on his sword. Haku rushed to his side, trembling. Kakashi approached, cautious but not attacking. "This fight is over." Zabuza coughed, his voice ragged. "You'll let us go?" Naruto glanced at Kakashi, then at Zabuza and Haku. "You tried to kill us. But Gojo was the real enemy here, right?" Haku looked away, pained. "We did what we had to do to survive. Now, we have nothing." Zabuza's grip on his sword loosened. "I'm finished. Not enough strength left to fight, anyway." Kakashi quietly said, "Leave. If you ever come back as enemies, we won't show mercy. But for now, no more killing." Zabuza nodded slightly, eyes dull with resignation. He and Haku staggered away down the bridge. The heavy mist began to disperse, revealing a clear sky lit by the early sun. Chizuna and the workers came forward, stunned by the carnage but relieved. "They're gone." Kakashi wiped sweat from his brow, turning to the old man. "Yes, the threats ended." Sakura slid to a seat on the edge of the bridge, exhaustion catching up to her. Sasuke limped, but pride glowed in his eyes. He'd held his own. Naruto let out a long breath, adrenaline ebbing. Mission accomplished. Yet a strange heaviness gnawed at him. He'd felt that flicker of empathy for Haku, a reflection of how a powerful system could twist someone's life. He pushed the thought away as Chizuna approached, voice wavering with gratitude. "Thank you, all of you. Because of you, our bridge can finally be finished." Naruto managed a grin, leaning on the railing as he stared at the shining water. "Hey, that's what we do." A few days later, bridge completion. The land of waves bustled with renewed energy as Chizuna's bridge neared completion. Tsunami and Inari visited the site, bringing fresh food for the workers. Kakashi, still bandaged but recovering well, walked tched with an approving eye as the last beams were placed. Sasuke and Sakura helped Chizuna carry materials, though Sasuke pretended not to care, and Sakura fussed over details. Naruto, perched on a tall post, took in the scene. People smiling, building something together. It was a far cry from the gloom that pervaded the town earlier. Inari ran up to Naruto, beaming. We're going to name the bridge, the Great Naruto Bridge, after you. Naruto laughed. Seriously, won't that be embarrassing for you guys? Inari shook his head. No way, you gave us hope when we had none. Naruto hopped down, a warm sensation filling his chest. Cool. Quote. Departure. The road back to Konoha. With the bridge complete and the land of waves free from Goto's tyranny, Team 7 prepared to return home. Tazuna, Tsunami, N.D. Inari came to see them off at the docks. Tsunami bowed. We'll never forget what you've done. Sakura waved bashfully. Take care. Sasuke gave a stoic nod, though a small smile crept into his features. Kakashi ruffled Inari's hair, murmuring something encouraging. Naruto clapped Inari on the shoulder, leaning in to whisper, "Keep being strong." The boy nodded, eyes shining with admiration. I will. They boarded the small boat that would ferry them back across the waterway to the land of fire. The sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the newly finished bridge and the bright future it promised for the land of waves. As the boat pulled away, Naruto felt a swirl of satisfaction and restlessness. Zabuza and Haku, their fates lingered in his mind. He hoped they'd find a path that didn't involve more bloodshed. Sakura broke the silence. That was our first real mission outside the village. It felt huge. Sasuke grunted. We have a lot more training to do. Kakashi closed his eye, letting the gentle rocking of the boat soothe his fatigue. You all did well. Naruto merely stared back at the receding shoreline, recalling the battles, the heartbreak, the triumph. A spark of deeper purpose glimmered in him. Maybe helping people like Inari was exactly what he was meant to do, using these powers for something more than just showing off. Yet he also sensed bigger challenges looming: Orochimaru, Danzo, the Akatsuki. The shinobi world was vast and treacherous, and his unstoppable might was a magnet for trouble. But in that moment, he felt alive, eager for what lay ahead, letting a slow grin curl his lips. And we're just getting started. Night. Konoha gates. They arrived at the village gates after several days of travel. The sky had deepened into a twilight glow, painting the walls in soft oranges and purples. Kakashi led them to the mission desk, where the Hokage and an assortment of Chunin administrators took their report. Hiruzen listened intently, his expression shifting from concern to relief as Kakashi described the events in the land of waves. When the story concluded, the Hokage smiled. You've all done exceptionally. I'll see to it that the mission is upgraded accordingly. The land of waves owes you its gratitude, and so does Konoha. Sakura exhaled, tension draining from her shoulders. Sasuke kept his cool facade, but Naruto sensed a subdued pride in him. As they exited the Hokage's office, Kakashi patted their backs. Take a few days off. Recover, rest. We'll regroup for more training soon. They parted ways in the hallway, each heading home. Naruto said by a window overlooking the darkened streets, mind drifting to the battles, the people he'd helped, and the enemies who still lurked. A passing Jonin offered a polite nod. Naruto nodded back, but his thoughts were already elsewhere. I should check in with Ino, maybe Hinata. A flicker of mischief lit his eyes. And see how the village has changed while I was gone. He left the Hokage's building, wandering the familiar roads. He reveled in the stares of passers-by, some curious, some respectful. Word traveled fast. So this is what it feels like to be recognized, he mused. Not bad. Late night. Naruto's apartment. He kicked off his sandals and flopped onto the bed. The mission had been more intense than any previous experience. That excited him. He wanted more. More challenges, more chances to use his abilities. To shape the shinobi world instead of being shaped by it. But a quiet part of his mind recalled Haku's gentle, pained eyes. He remembered how easily he could have crushed Haku but pulled back. Even with all his bravado, something in him resisted merciless killing. He closed his eyes, picturing the swirl of infinite space that was his limitless technique, the unstoppable reality of his 6 eyes. Power alone can be empty, whispered the echo of Satoru Gojo's memories. It's the connections you make that give it meaning. He let out a soft breath. I've got a village, a team, even EU girls who might be interested in me for more than my strength. That last thought made him grin wryly. He wouldn't deny that aspect of himself. He liked the attention, the affection. He drifted into a light sleep, mind flickering through scenes. Zabuza's blade halted mid-swing, Sasuke's determined glare, Sakura's worried eyes, Kakashi's lightning crackling, Haku's broken mirror fragments, Inari's tears turning to hope. I'm forging my path, he thought, exhaustion claiming him. No regrets. Far beneath Konoha Root headquarters, deep underground, Danzo reviewed the latest reports with cold concentration. A masked Root operative stood at attention. So, Naruto survived an encounter with Zabuza of the Mist. Word has it the boy used near-impossible techniques, the operative said. Danzo's single eye narrowed. Even an elite missing nin couldn't handle him. Hiruzen tolerates this, but we must be prepared. We will continue our observation. The time will come when we reveal our hand. His cane tapped the stone floor. Naruto Uzumaki will either be Konoha's greatest weapon or its greatest threat. He dismissed the operative, leaving only the flickering torchlight and his own grim determination. I won't let the Hokage's sentimental approach jeopardize the village, he thought. If the boy becomes too dangerous, I'll take action. And so, in the hidden corridors of Root, the quiet machinations continued, weaving new threads of conspiracy around Naruto's destiny. End of Chapter 3. Team 7 returns victorious, having faced down the demon of the mist and his companion. The Land of Waves finds hope anew, christening the newly finished bridge in Naruto's name. Yet shadows stir in Konoha. Danzo's plans creep forward, Orochimaru lurks in the distance, and the threat of the Akatsuki looms on the horizon. Naruto grows ever more confident in his limitless powers but finds himself wrestling with empathy for those caught in the crossfire of a cruel world. Bonds with his teammates begin to deepen. Though Sasuke's rivalry and Sakura's uncertainties remain points of tension, romance simmers elsewhere, as Naruto anticipates reuniting with Ino, Hinata, and others who've begun circling his orbit. He next challenges will test both his resolve and the fragile alliances he's forming. Forces beyond the village eye Naruto's godlike techniques, and soon, the fate of more than just a bridge will hang in the balance. Chapter 4 Embers of Ambition. Early morning training field behind the academy. A fresh breeze swept across the dew-laced grass as Team 7 reconvened for a simple post-mission training session. The successful completion of the wave mission was already buzzing around the village. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura had become minor celebrities in the academy's halls. But right now, they were just 3 tired genin standing before their famously tardy sensei. Kakashi, perched atop a wooden fence, glanced at them over the edge of his ever-present book. Morning. How's everyone feeling after our little field trip? Sakura gave a polite smile. I'm fine, Kakashi-sensei. Mostly glad to be home. Sasuke grunted, arms folded. I need more training. Naruto shrugged, a restless edge in his voice. I'm good. Let's do something interesting before I lose my mind. Kakashi's visible eye curved with mild amusement. I'll keep it short today. You 3 should rest up. There are rumors the Chunin exams might be announced soon. Sasuke's scowl softened almost imperceptibly at the idea. Sakura tensed, equal parts excitement and anxiety. Naruto's grin widened. Finally, he thought, something worth my time. After the Land of Waves, he craved another challenge, preferably one that let him push his limitless powers even further. They went through routine drills, target practice, basic formation exercises, and light sparring. Naruto took the lead in demonstrating certain maneuvers. Kakashi had taught them how to coordinate mid-fight to protect a vulnerable teammate. Sakura, still determined not to be a weak link, followed every step meticulously. Sasuke, fueled by his drive to surpass Naruto, trained with grim focus. As the sun climbed higher, Kakashi clapped his hands. All right, that's enough. Break for the day. Don't forget to eat and rest. Naruto rolled his neck, feeling only slightly winded. Sensei, you said something about the Chunin exams. Any details? Kakashi tucked his book away. They'll be held here in Konoha soon. Might be worth considering. Then again, his gaze slid to each of them in turn. Some people jump in too early and get crushed by stronger opponents. Naruto just laughed. Could be fun. I'm in. Sasuke's lip curled. I won't lose to anyone. Sakura swallowed hard but nodded, trying to project confidence. Count me in too. Kakashi's expression remained unreadable. Then train well. You'll need more than bravado to come out on top. He paused, looking like he might add something else, then waved them off. Dismissed. Late morning Hokage's office. Naruto decided to swing by the Hokage's tower for no particular reason other than curiosity plus, he had a suspicion that Danzo might be lurking around, and he felt a mischievous urge to keep the old warhawk on his toes. Stepping into the reception area, Naruto noticed that the Hokage's door stood partially open. Hiruzen's familiar, fatherly voice carried out, "Yes, Danzo, I'm aware of your concerns, but Naruto is my responsibility. You have no authority to." Danzo's voice cut in, cold and measured. "I only seek to protect the village. The boy's power gr sure he doesn't become a threat." Naruto leaned against the wall, arms crossed, resisting the urge to barge in. He heard the third respond more sternly. "That's enough. I won't debate this further." The door swung open, revealing Danzo in his trademark robe and bandaged eye. He paused upon seeing Naruto, single exposed eye narrowing. Naruto's gaze never wavered, meeting Danzo's hostility with casual boredom. "Eavesdropping, Uzumaki," Danzo said in a low rasp. "Just taking a walk," Naruto replied flatly. "Didn't realize the corridor belonged to you." Danzo gave him a long, assessing look. "Watch yourself, boy." He brushed past, cane tapping the floor in ominous cadence as he disappeared down the hallway. Naruto exhaled softly, then let himself into the Hokage's office without knocking. Hiruzen, seated behind a clutter of paperwork, smiled tiredly. "That was quite the timing." Naruto shrugged. "He's been sniffing around me for a while now." The Hokage rubbed his temples. "Danzo is persistent. But never mind that. I take it you're here about the upcoming Chunin exams." Naruto smirked. "Kakashi-sensei mentioned them. Figured I'd drop by to see if you have any top secret info." Hiruzen chuckled. "Not exactly top secret. The exams begin in a week. Many teams from other villages will arrive. It's a chance to show your skill, but also a political stage. In short, it can be dangerous." "Dangerous is good," Naruto said, the corners of his mouth lifting. "I'll get stronger." The third nodded, a hint of caution in his eyes. "Just remember, Naruto, power is not the only measure of a shinobi. You'll need strategy, allies, trust. Don't take this lightly." Naruto tilted his head in a half bow. "Thanks, old man." He turned to leave, but paused. "Try not to let Danzo stress you out." Hiruzen's lips thinned into a small, weary smile. "I'll do my best." Midday Yamanaka flower shop. After his chat with the Hokage, Naruto strolled toward the Yamanaka flower shop, feeling a tug of anticipation. He hadn't seen Ino since returning from the Land of Waves, and the memory of their last steamy training session lingered in his mind. A playful grin spread across his face. Inside, the shop was quiet, warm sunlight drifting through the windows onto racks of blossoms. Ino stood behind the counter, wearing a light apron over her usual purple outfit, carefully arranging some daisies in a bouquet. She glanced up and froze. "Hey there," Naruto said casually, leaning on the counter. "Miss me?" She arched an eyebrow, then smirked. "Took you long enough to drop by, big shot." He shrugged. "Had to save a country first. You know how it is." Ino snorted, though her eyes gleamed with amusement. "Yeah, I heard. Everyone's talking about it. You and your team going up against a rogue mist ninja, that's insane." He leaned in, voice dropping to a teasing murmur. "I'm full of surprises, Ino." Her cheeks warmed faintly as she set the bouquet aside. "So, you busy later?" "If you are, I can always find someone else to keep me company." Naruto's grin widened. "I can clear my schedule." Quote. Ino glanced at the shop's back door. "Meet me in the storeroom in 10 minutes. I need help organizing some boxes." The wink she gave him was anything but subtle. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, he snuck past the main counter and into the storeroom. She closed the door behind them, leaning against it with a sly grin. He wasted no time, stepping in, his hand sliding around her waist. She grabbed him by the collar of his jacket, pulling him in for a fierce kiss. They broke apart only when the sound of a customer's bell faintly chimed through the shop. She pressed a finger to his lips, biting back a laugh. "We'd better not get caught." He ran his thumb across her flushed cheek, heartbeat thrumming in his ears. "Don't worry, I'm good at stealth." She pecked him again, softer this time, then sighed. "Wish we had more time." Naruto nodded, surprisingly content in that moment of closeness. Soon, he promised. We'll have more time. He eyed her carefully. You thinking about entering the Chunin exams? Ino puffed out her chest. Of course. I'm not letting you hog all the attention. He chuckled. Good. Keep things interesting. They sneaked out of the storeroom separately. The moment Naruto stepped onto the street, he spotted a familiar head of midnight blue hair shyly peeking around the corner. Hinata. She looked torn between retreat and coming forward. Realizing she'd been spotted, she stiffened. Hinata, Naruto said, stepping closer. You okay? She fiddled with her fingers, face bright pink. I was just out on errands. Then I saw you leaving the flower shop. And, her voice trailed off, eyes darting between him and the store as if suspecting something. Naruto gave a friendly grin. Well, hey, perfect timing. Wanna grab lunch? Her eyes lit up, though she stayed bashful. Yes, that would be nice. Afternoon, a quiet ramen stand. They ended up at a lesser-known ramen stall on a side street, not Ichiraku's, but a similarly cozy place. Hinata sipped at her tea while Naruto slurped noodles. The air between them felt warm, if a bit tense for her. She found her courage, asking softly, how was your mission? People said it was dangerous. Naruto shrugged, trying not to brag too much. We ran into some big threats, but it all worked out. You should have seen how tough that missing nin was. He paused, then offered a grin. But I handled it. Hinata's gaze flickered with admiration. You're really amazing, Naruto-kun. He felt a stir of genuine affection for Hinata's unwavering support. Unlike many others, she wasn't just pressed by his reputation, she'd always believed in him. Leaning across the small table, he brushed a stray lock of hair behind her ear. You're not too bad yourself, you know. Heard you've been training with Kurenai-sensei a lot. A tiny smile bloomed on her lips. I'm doing my best to get stronger. He lowered his voice. Are you entering the Chunin exams? She nodded. Kiba and Shino, too. We want to show our progress. Naruto reached out, covering her hand with his. She tensed, then relaxed slightly. Good. We'll probably run into each other in the exams. Her cheeks warmed. Yeah. I hope we can all do our best. They finished their lunch, and he walked her out onto the quiet street. A sudden impulse struck him, and he paused, leaning in to press a soft, quick kiss to her cheek. Hinata gasped, eyes wide, breath catching in her throat. He winked. You're cute when you blush. See you around, Hinata. She stood there, speechless, as he strolled off, a smug half-smile on his lips. Late afternoon, Anko's surprise. Eager to keep the day interesting, Naruto ventured into one of Konoha's training grounds located deeper in the forest. He planned to practice some advanced limitless expansi. Trying to see if he could create finer manipulations of space without resorting to big flashy moves. When he arrived, though, he found the field already in use. Anko Mitarashi was there, hurling kunai at a weathered target, each blade hitting with a fierce thunk. Her purple trench coat fluttered in a sharp breeze. She spotted Naruto from the corner of her eye, lips curving into a wry grin. Well, if it isn't the brat who likes to show off. He raised a hand in greeting. Hey, Anko, didn't know this spot was taken. She shrugged, stepping away from the target. Plenty of space for both of us. You training for the exams or just blowing off steam? Naruto cocked his head. Both, I guess. Gotta stay sharp. Anko tossed him a kunai, which he caught easily. Show me that fancy trick. I want to see you stop a blade mid-swing again. Quote. He twirled the kunai. You looking to test me? A wicked gleam lit her eyes. Why not? Let's see what you've really got. Before he could reply, thrusting a kunai at his ribs, he slid sideways, letting the invisible barrier catch her blade, slowing it to a near standstill. She smirked, pressing harder. Huh, so that's it. He flicked his wrist, and a tiny pulse of force knocked her a step back. She flipped gracefully, landing on her feet. That's some insane defense. Naruto stretched his neck, adrenaline humming. Wanna go again? Her grin sharpened. Sure. They clashed in a quick flurry of steel. Each time Anko tried to slip past his guard, she found her kunai decelerated or deflected by intangible force. Yet she adapted swiftly, feinting high then low, forcing him to adjust the barrier's shape. Even with his eyes and reflexes, she was no slouch. Her speed and unpredictability impressed him. Eventually, she halted, sheathing her weapon. That's enough. Any longer and I might break a sweat. He snorted. Sounds like you're scared I'd beat you too badly. She stepped in close, giving him a dangerous smile. Don't get cocky, brat. One slip, and you'll be in pieces. He felt the heat of her proximity, recalling how she'd teased him at the dango shop. He lifted his chin. Bet you like that I'm not scared of you. Scared? I hate boys who cower. She ran a finger along his jawline, eyes flicking over him in appraisal. For a moment, the air thickened with tension. Then she laughed low in her throat, stepping back. But you're a genin. Don't get any ideas. Naruto shrugged, refusing to be cowed. I'm not just any genin. Enko locked eyes with him, as if acknowledging his statement. She gave a casual wave over her shoulder. We'll see how you fare in the exams, hotshot. Don't die before I get to have more fun. She disappeared with a swish of leaves, leaving Naruto alone, pulse still pounding. A grin tugged at his mouth. This village really is full of interesting women. Early evening Team 7 meetup. On Kakashi's request, the team gathered at a small tea shop. They took a corner table. Sakura at one side, Sasuke at the other, and Naruto sprawled comfortably with arms crossed behind his head. Kakashi arrived fashionably late, took a seat, and lowered his mask to sip tea. I assume you've heard the official announcement. The Chunin exams begin next week. Each team can participate if all 3 genin agree. Sakura nodded, glancing nervously at Sasuke. I'm in. Sasuke didn't hesitate. Me too. Kakashi's gaze shifted to Naruto. And you? Obviously, Naruto said, eyes flicking with excitement. Let's do it. Their sensei closed his single visible eye, as if smiling. Great. I'll finalize your registration tomorrow. Sakura folded her hands. Kakashi-sensei. How tough are these exams, really? Kakashi exhaled softly. They can be brutal. People die sometimes. It's not a game, though there are structured rules. You'll face shinobi from multiple villages, each with different fighting styles and techniques. Be on guard. Sasuke's jaw tightened, but his eyes shone with determination. Naruto merely smirked. Brutal? Huh, all the better to show them what I can do. Kakashi glanced at Naruto with a note of warning. This might be the first time you face truly formidable peers. Don't underestimate them. Naruto leaned forward. I won't. Night. Naruto's apartment. Back at his cluttered place, Naruto tossed his jacket aside, rummaging through some old scrolls. He found a half-finished sealing formula he'd been toying with, an attempt to incorporate the concept of infinite distance into Fuinjutsu. The math was tricky even by advanced shinobi standards, but his mind could see patterns normal people missed. He lit a small lamp and got to work, doodling equations and swirling shapes across parchment. Each line reminded him of the fractal layers behind his limitless technique. He lost track of time until a wave of mental fatigue hit. Standing, he stretched and gazed out the window. The village lights dotted the darkness below. His mind drifted to the day's encounters: Danzo's glare, Ino's kiss, Hinata's blush, Enko's fierce grin. A swirling sense of possibility filled him. So many paths, so many ways to grow. He closed his eyes, letting the hush of night soothe him. But behind his lids, flickers of Satoru Gojo's memories sparkled, images of monstrous curses laid to waste, an unbreakable confidence that could tip the balance of an entire world. I may not be facing curses here, but I'll be damned if I let anyone stifle me. He exhaled and slumped onto his bed. A single thought lingered in the back of his mind. Akatsuki, Orochimaru, Danzo. He sensed the weight of these looming threats, each a piece of the puzzle that threatened his freedom. But for now, the Chunin exams loomed largest, his chance to test his mettle against the best of his generation, in front of all 5 great nations. Let them see what true power looks like. With that final, brazen thought, he drifted into restless sleep. Early morning training ground 3. Under a pale sunrise, Naruto arrived to find Sasuke already there. The Uchiha was shirtless, sweat pouring off him as he fired off a relentless chain of punches and kicks against a wooden post. Splinters flew under the assault. Naruto smirked. Nice to see you working so hard. Sasuke paused, chest heaving. I have to push my limits if I want to awaken more power. Naruto walked forward, hooking his thumbs in his pockets. You mean the Sharingan? Sasuke scowled. Don't pretend you know what it's like to carry my clan's burden. Naruto just shrugged. I know what it's like to be burdened by something you never asked for. He flicked a glance at his own reflection in a puddle, aware of the 9 tails and his reincarnated powers. But sure, I don't get your specific baggage. Sasuke's lips pressed into a thin line. Then let me train without your commentary. Actually, I came to spar. If you want a real challenge, let's see what you've got. For a moment, Sasuke hesitated, pride warring with caution. Then he stepped away from the post. Fine, but don't hold back. Naruto's grin turned feral. You asked for it. They squared off. Sasuke came in with a swift taijutsu combo, fists and feet cutting through the air. Naruto's limitless barrier automatically repelled the strikes, but he consciously reduced its potency. He wanted a fair exchange, not a one-sided shutout. Sasuke landed a glancing blow on Naruto's shoulder, surprising him. Naruto retaliated with a swirling palm strike that cracked with a fraction of his space distortion. Sasuke barely managed to block, skidding back with widened eyes. Damn, that's still too strong. Naruto reined it in even further, meeting Sasuke blow for blow in close quarters. For a few fleeting moments, they danced in a flurry of adrenaline, Sasuke's eyes narrowing, trying to anticipate Naruto's movement, while Naruto carefully controlled the infinite buffer around his skin so that Sasuke's hits wouldn't bounce off too early. At last, Sasuke's chest heaved, arms trembling. Naruto, a bead of sweat trickling down his temple, folded his arms with a cocky tilt. You've improved, but you're still not satisfied, huh? Sasuke scowled. Not even close. Then, more quietly, but, thanks. Naruto's eyebrows rose. What for? Sasuke shrugged, looking away. Pushing me. That's all. He hurried off, presumably to train alone and nurse his bruised ego. Naruto watched him go, an odd sense of respect churning in his gut. We'll become stronger together, even if we're rivals. Afternoon Ichiraku Ramen. Team 7 met up for a quick lunch at Naruto's favorite stand. Steam curled over the bowls as they dug in. Kakashi joined them, for once paying for the meal. He slurped noodles contemplatively, ignoring the squeals of joy Naruto emitted at the free feast. Sakura was about to comment on something trivial when a new voice chimed in from behind them. Fancy seeing Team 7 here. They turned his team Rock Lee, Neji Hyuga, and Tenten approaching. Lee, sporting his trademark bowl cut and thick eyebrows, struck a dramatic thumbs-up pose at Sakura. It is destiny that we meet here, fair flower of Konoha. Sakura forced a polite smile, sweat dropping slightly. Hey, Lee. Naruto eyed Neji, whose pale eyes were reminiscent of Hinata's but colder. Neji glanced back, expression impassive. Tenten gave a friendly nod to Naruto, then looked at Sasuke curiously. Guy, beaming as always, clapped Kakashi on the shoulder. Kakashi, my eternal rival, we meet again. I trust your youthful students are ready for the exams. Kakashi shrugged. They'll do fine. How about yours? Guy flashed a grin. My adorable team is in peak condition. Lee has been dying to test himself against Sasuke and Naruto. Lee's eyes burned with fiery determination as he set his sights on Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke, I've heard you are quite the prodigy. I challenge you to a spar before the exams. Sasuke looked unimpressed, but a spark of competitive spirit lit his gaze. Sure, if you want to lose. Naruto sipped his broth, raising an eyebrow. Don't ignore me, bushy brows. I'm up for a fight too. Lee blinked, then turned to Naruto. You are strong, but I must test myself against the reputed genius first. He gave an apologetic bow. However, if you wish to fight, I cannot refuse afterwards. Guy laughed boisterously. That's the spirit, Lee. Youthful passion. Kakashi, finishing his bowl, tossed some bills on the counter. All right, kids, let's move along. We'll see you soon. Guy. As Team 7 stepped away from the stand, Sasuke scowled. He's underestimating me. Naruto shrugged. Then prove him wrong. Sakura sighed, glancing at Kakashi. Sensei, are we just going to fight every other team before the exams even start? Kakashi's eye arched in amusement. If you do, you'll all be too exhausted for the real thing. Try not to pick fights you don't need to. Naruto smirked. But we enjoy it. Sensei. Kakashi just sighed. Of course you do. Late afternoon Roots shadow. While Naruto roamed the village streets, half thinking about where to train next. He felt that unsettling tingle at the back of his neck, a sensation he'd come to associate with being watched. Slipping into a narrow alley, he pretended to examine a merchant's stall. Moments later, a root operative flickered into view behind him, masked and silent. Naruto spun, activating a faint aura of limitless. You again. Get lost. The operative didn't flinch. Danzo-sama wishes to speak with you. Too bad. Naruto snapped. I'm not one of his goons. The masked figure took a step forward. He insists. It concerns your future in the village. Naruto's eyes flashed. He let a low wave of force crack the ground beneath his feet. The operative staggered. I said get lost. A tense moment stretched, then the root member disappeared without further comment. Naruto released a breath, ignoring the startled glances of a few pedestrians. Danzo doesn't learn, does he? If he tried anything more direct, Naruto would happily teach him a lesson. Nightfall, a rooftop overlooking the village. Naruto's day ended as it often did, perched on a rooftop, watching the lights of Konoha flicker against the twilight sky. The swirl of looming challenges, the Chunin exams, Danzo's plotting. Sasuke's rivalry should have weighed him down, but instead, he felt invigorated. His thoughts drifted to the women who now colored his life in unexpected ways. Ino's bold kisses in the back of her family shop. Hinata's gentle smile over ramen, Enko's fierce jibes on the training field. Each connection felt different, stirring new emotions in him. He welcomed it. Better to have too many bonds than none at all. He rose to his feet, the night breeze ruffling his hair. Tomorrow, I'll train harder. The exams are coming, and I want to blow everyone's mind. The memory of Satoru Gojo laughing. G in the face of danger flickered in his thoughts. Yes, he was Naruto Uzumaki, but also something more, something unstoppable. A soft chuckle escaped his lips. Let them come. In a silent corridor below, another figure watched him from afar. Danzo, cloaked in shadow, expression unreadable. He observed Naruto's silhouette on the rooftop, then turned away, cane tapping softly. Patience, Danzo told himself. Sooner or later, the boy will slip, and that power will be harnessed or destroyed. But for Naruto, high above the sleeping village, there was only the pull of the moonlit sky and the promise of greatness just around the corner. He finally hopped down, heading home. Sleep wouldn't come easily. His head buzzed with possibilities of cunning tests, fierce rivals, glinting stares, and triumphant victories. Chapter 1 of the next big stage. He smirked to himself as he pushed open the door of his apartment. This is the life I've been waiting for. He flicked off the lights, dropping onto his bed. In the darkness behind his eyelids, the infinite swirl of limitless beckoned, reminding him of a truth he relished. He had no ceiling. No real limit. Whatever the exams demanded, he would surpass it. Tomorrow, he thought as sleep finally crept in. Let's see who dares to stand in my way. Chapter 5, the first tests of fire. Late evening, Team 7's usual training field. The moon hovered overhead, bright and silver. As Naruto stood beneath it, arms crossed, a warm summer breeze stirred the leaves around him. Sasuke and Sakura were here too, though both looked close to collapsing. Kakashi watched from a low tree branch, his posture deceptively relaxed. All right, Kakashi called, snapping his little orange book shut. That's enough for tonight. You three need rest before tomorrow's start of the Chunin exams. Sakura exhaled in relief, dropping onto the cool grass. Thank goodness. I can't feel my legs. Sasuke glared at her. You'll need stamina for the exams. Don't complain. Naruto smirked, only slightly winded. I'm good to keep going, sensei. Kakashi hopped down, giving Naruto a pointed look. We get it. You're overflowing with energy. But pushing yourself and your teammates too far at this hour won't help. You'll need a clear head when you face the tests. Naruto wasn't thrilled to stop, but he shrugged, conceding the point. Over the last few days, the tension in the air had grown thick. Genin squads from all over the 5 great nations roamed Konoha's streets, each with unique jutsu and hidden agendas. For Naruto, it was a thrilling challenge. For Sakura, it was borderline terrifying. And for Sasuke, it was a chance to measure himself against the strongest of their generation. Kakashi gestured for the team to gather closer. The first part of the exams is usually a written test. Don't underestimate it. Intelligence and cunning can trump raw power if you're careless. Sakura perked up, mind flicking to her strengths. I should be fine on the written portion. Naruto feigned a dramatic yawn. Written test, huh, not my favorite, but I'll manage. Sasuke, ever pragmatic, asked, and the second part. Kakashi only gave a cryptic smile. A survival challenge, typically. You'll see soon enough. They parted ways soon after, but as Sakura and Sasuke headed off, Naruto lingered. Kakashi eyed him with mild curiosity. Something on your mind? Naruto looked to the moon. Just thinking about how big this all is. You know, different villages, strong opponents, it'll be fun. Kakashi studied him. Fun is one word for it. Watch yourself, Naruto. When you stand out too much, you attract all kinds of unwanted attention. Naruto shrugged, a cocky grin tugging his lips. Good, let them come. Kakashi sighed in a half-resigned, half-amused way. Go get some sleep. Naruto saluted lazily, then vanished into the darkness. Early morning academy hallway. A throng of restless genin squeezed into the hallway outside the designated classroom. Seed in a chaotic hum, impatient whispers in a dozen accents. Bold boasts of unstoppable jutsu, uneasy talk of rumored dangers. Naruto had never seen such a mix of shinobi in one place. Team 7 moved through the crowd, scanning for a familiar face or potential threat. Sasuke frowned. It's loud in here. Naruto smirked, his heightened senses picking up on a swirl of distinct chakras. Some felt average, others surprisingly strong. One presence caught his attention. Gaara of the Sand, standing with his siblings, a gourd slung over his shoulder. The redhead's cold eyes seemed to bore into anyone who glanced his way. Naruto R.E. called the hush that fell whenever Gaara was mentioned. He was rumored to be dangerous, even among Suna's elite. Sakura tugged on Naruto's sleeve, pointing to another cluster of leaf genin. Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji from Team 10, Hinata, Kiba, and Shino from Team 8. Further down, Rock Lee, Neji, and Tenten from Guy's team. Their eyes flicked warily around the crowd, each group mentally sizing up the competition. Naruto caught Ino's eye. She waved enthusiastically, a bright grin on her face, but when Naruto gave her a roguish wink, she blushed and quickly looked away, likely remembering their last close encounter in the flower shop. Beside her, Shikamaru rolled his eyes, and Choji gave a half-smile. Hinata stood with her own teammates, glancing shyly at Naruto every few seconds. He shot her a lopsided grin, which made her cheeks tint pink. Kiba elbowed her, whispering something teasing, while Shino observed in silence behind his dark shades. Sasuke's attention snapped forward as he nodded. Two older genin harassing a group of fresh-faced participants by a door. The sign above read, Room 301, but something felt off. One of the older genin, smirking, said, if you can't handle this, you'll never pass the exams. Better turn around now. Sakura frowned. Is this the right room? I thought we had to go to the third floor. Naruto raised a brow, glancing at the door number. Then he consulted the layout in his head. We're on the second floor, not the third. He let out a short laugh. Genjutsu. Sasuke stepped forward, eyes flashing with mild annoyance. The older genin tried to block him, but Sasuke brushed him aside, revealing the real door number behind the illusion, 201. The crowd realized the trick, and the older genin chuckled, dispelling their cover. Nice catch, one said. Better keep those eyes open. The exams only get trickier. Naruto shrugged, pushing past them. Try something more original next time. They ascended to the real third floor and found the Korek tea room, a large auditorium with rows of desks. The tension inside was palpable. Unfazed, Team 7 took seats near one another. Naruto plopped into a chair, arms folded behind his head as he surveyed the competition. Scene break. The first exam, the written test. Ibiki Morino, the intimidating proctor known for his interrogation skills, stalked to the front of the room. His presence alone quieted the genin. Scars lined his face, and a chilling aura of authority radiated from him. Listen up, Ibiki said, voice cold. I'm your proctor for the first stage of the Chunin exams. Here are the rules. He proceeded to explain a complex scoring system. Each genin started with 10 points, each wrong answer costing a point, and cheating caught by the examiners costing more. If one got to 0, their entire team failed. At the end, there'd be a final question that could make or break a person's chances. The entire lecture felt designed to unnerve and confuse. Naruto glanced sideways at Sakura, who wore a determined expression. This was her arena, and he had no doubt she'd do fine. Sasuke kept his features neutral, likely planning to copy from others if needed. Naruto was confident in his own ability to handle it if he wanted to cheat. The Six Eyes could read distant test papers with ease, or sense faint pencil movements from across the room. But part of him wanted to see if he could do it fairly, just to prove a point. Ibiki gave the signal, and the test began. Pens scratched paper, tension thickened, and the watchers along the walls studied every movement for signs of cheating. Naruto skimmed the first few questions. They were complicated, requiring advanced shinobi knowledge or specialized codes. He recognized that the point wasn't simply the answers, but the method like real missions. You often had to gather intel under pressure. He exhaled softly, activating the faintest overlay of the Six Eyes to glean subtle details. He spotted the faint lines on another test paper in front of him and gleaned partial answers. With his superhuman perception, he could piece them together without looking suspicious. All around, other genin employed various tactics. Shino sent his tiny bugs to peek at others' tests. Neji used his Byakugan, glancing through sealed eyelashes. Sasuke surreptitiously invoked his Sharingan. Tenten flicked hidden mirrors into the air, and so on. Failure or success hinged on cunning. About halfway through, Naruto let his mind wander. They designed these questions to be nearly impossible for regular academy grads. He scribbled down plausible answers with a lazy ease. Cross-referencing data he gleaned from those he sensed around him. Ibiki's watchers never so much as glanced his way. Eventually, time ticked down. Ibiki announced the final question, Unvei. Ling a new twist. Answer it and risk never being able to take the Chunin exams again if you fail or choose not to answer, and your entire team fails immediately, but you could try again next year. The hush in the room was absolute. Some genin quivered, uncertain whether to take that gamble. Naruto felt the urge to laugh. It was obviously a mind game. Next to him, Sakura fought to keep composure, but her hand trembled. Sasuke's eyes flicked around the room, sizing up how many might break under the psychological pressure. Ibiki's voice thundered. So, who will quit? A few genin stood, trembling. They left with downcast faces, effectively dooming their teams. Tension rose, hearts hammered. Finally, Naruto slammed his hands on the desk, standing abruptly. Everyone's eyes snapped to him. Ibiki's gaze sharpened. Something you want to say? Naruto gave a fierce grin. Damn right, I'm not going anywhere. Even if I fail 1,000 times, I'll keep clawing my way up. No chance I'm backing out. Some genin around him drew renewed courage from his outburst. Ibiki observed Naruto's fierce eyes, then smirked. Hey, fine. Looks like the rest of you stay too, then. Because there is no final question. A collective uproar of shock swept the room. Ibiki explained the trick, how it was meant to test their resolve. If they'd run from this imaginary threat, they'd never survive real missions that could cost their lives. Naruto grinned ear to ear. Easiest test ever, though he gave Ibiki credit for the psychological punch. Without missing a beat, Ibiki nodded. Congratulations. You passed the first exam. Next up is the second exam's proctor. The window suddenly crashed inward, and a banner unfurled in a cloud of smoke. Anko Mitarashi, the second proctor. Anko herself stood triumphantly, fishnet sleeves and coat flaring. All right, brats, no time to rest. Follow me to the next stage. She swept out of the room, leaving the stunned genin to scramble after her. Naruto couldn't hide a grin. Of course it's Anko. Midday entrance to the Forest of Death. The next site was infamous. A massive training ground dubbed the Forest of Death. Towering trees, thick undergrowth, and lurking predators gave it an ominous presence. High fences ringed the perimeter, and a sign warned of lethal danger inside. Anko addressed the assembled genin with relish, detailing the survival exercise. Each team WOU/LD received one of 2 scrolls, heaven or earth, and they had to trek through the forest, reaching a tower at its center within 5 days. To advance, they had to collect the opposite scroll from another team. Hooting poisonous flora, gigantic insects, and, of course, rival shinobi. Enko's gaze flicked across the crowd, and for a split second, it met Naruto's. She flashed a predatory grin, as if daring him to show off. He returned a confident smirk, remembering their last spar. "I'll give you a show, Enko." They lined up at booths where a proctor handed each team a scroll. Team 7 received an Earth scroll. Tucking it into his pouch, Naruto glanced around to see Ino's team get a Heaven scroll, Hinata's team get Earth, and so on. Then the gates rumbled open. A warning horn blared across the clearing. Teams scattered into the dark expanse, each prepared to outwit or overpower the others. Scene break early hours in the forest. Team 7 dashed through dense foliage, leaping from branch to branch. The air was hot and still. The shadows long. Sakura took the rear, watchful. Sasuke led the way, scanning ahead with keen eyes. Naruto stayed in the middle, senses on high alert. Every rustle or snap of twigs could signal an ambush. They'd agreed on a strategy. Move quickly toward the tower but remain open to picking off weaker teams for their scroll. The real threat, though, would be top-tier SQ. Ads like Gaara's or even the Sound Ninja rumored to be dangerous wildcards. They paused in a clearing to catch their breath. Sasuke signaled for silence. "We might be followed." Naruto closed his eyes, letting the 6 eyes filter the forest's chaotic chakras. He detected faint presences in the distance, nothing immediate. No one close enough to worry about yet. Sakura, tension in her shoulders, whispered, "This place feels alive. Something's watching us." Almost on cue, a gust of wind whipped through, stirring leaves into a small cyclone. Naruto's eyes narrowed. That's not natural. Suddenly, a massive gust slammed the ground, splitting trees. A towering shape landed, wearing a Kusa headband. The individual's features seemed distorted, face partially obscured by shadows. Something about that chakra signature made Naruto's stomach tighten, an unearthly presence. Sasuke jerked back, eyes wide. Who is that?" The mysterious figure chuckled, voice eerily amused. "Hello, Team 7, I've been dying to meet you." With inhuman speed, they lunged, a kunai glinting. Naruto reacted instinctively, flicking the air. A distortion shimmered, forcing the kunai to freeze inches from his face. The intruder smiled. "Oh, interesting technique." In that instant, the figure's grin stretched unnaturally wide, and the disguise melted away to reveal a pale man with snake-like eyes, Orochimaru. The name alone was enough to freeze most shinobi in terror. Sakura gasped, color draining from her face. "Oh, Orochimaru, that's one of the legendary Sannin." Naruto felt his pulse spike, adrenaline roaring. He remembered the ominous hush around that name, the rumors that Orochimaru had fled the village after horrific experiments. This is no ordinary foe. Sasuke's breathing turned shallow, fear creeping in. Orochimaru snickered, turning his attention to Sasuke. "I came for the Uchiha, but I see you're not the only interesting specimen in this team." His snake-like gaze flicked to Naruto. "Space manipulation, yes, rumors do not do it justice." Quote, Naruto bristled. "You're in the wrong place if you think you'll just toy with us." Orochimaru's grin sharpened. Such bravado. His chakra flared, oppressive as a weight crushing the air. Sakura staggered, her knees almost giving out. Sasuke's eyes flickered with the Sharingan, but even that seemed overshadowed by Orochimaru's presence. Naruto grit his teeth, calling on the 9 tails within and letting his limitless swirl to full effect. The barrier parted Orochimaru's malicious aura, giving Naruto room to breathe. "Hey," Orochimaru murmured, "you're something special indeed." In a burst of speed, the Sannin attacked Sasuke. Metal hissed. Sasuke tried to parry, but Orochimaru's strike was too fast. At the last moment, Naruto slammed a palm forward, projecting a shockwave. Orochimaru slid back gracefully, chuckling. "Marvelous reflexes," Sakura shouted, voice trembling, "We need to run." She knew they had no business facing a legendary Sannin in a direct fight. Sasuke, trembling with equal parts fear and rage, ground his teeth. "I can't, I won't." He seemed torn between flight and fighting to protect his pride. Naruto's gaze hardened. "Sasuke, Sakura, get out of here." "I'll hold him." Sakura's eyes widened. "What? No way, you'll die." Naruto flashed a crooked grin. He can't kill what he can't touch. Orochimaru watched in amusement. How noble. But you underestimate me, child. Quote. Naruto shot forward, channeling both the Nine Tails chakra and the limitless. The ground rippled from the force, creating a local earthquake. Orochimaru merely vanished in a swirl of leaves. Reappearing behind Naruto, a pale hand snaked out, aiming for Naruto's neck. Again, the infinite barrier distorted space, forcing Orochimaru's hand to slow. A look of genuine intrigue crossed Orochimaru's face. Extraordinary. He twisted around, extending his neck impossibly like a serpent, biting at Sasuke. Naruto recognized the maneuver too late. The barrier protected him, not Sasuke. Sasuke cried out in shock and pain. 2 puncture marks burned on his shoulder. Sasuke! Sakura screamed, rushing over. The Uchiha fell to his knees, agony etched on his face. Oh! Orochimaru retracted his neck with a wet hiss, eyes flickering with sadistic delight. That's the mark you need, Orochimaru purred. Use it well, or it will devour you. Naruto snarled, swinging an arc of compressed air. Orochimaru allowed the wave to tear into his side. His body seemed to unravel into serpentine fragments, then reform a few paces away. He raised a finger in a mocking salute. We'll meet again soon, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha. Before Naruto could strike again, Orochimaru melted into the trunk of a giant tree as though it were liquid, leaving only the faint echo of hollow laughter. Sakura pressed a trembling hand to Sasuke's shoulder, where black marks slithered across his skin. He convulsed, fighting a surge of darkness. Naruto dropped beside them, frustration and alarm colliding in his chest. We were completely outmatched. He clenched his fists, furious. The idea that even his limitless hadn't deterred Orochimaru stung. He placed a hand over Sasuke's cursed wound, channeling some of his own chakra in a desperate attempt to quell the spreading agony. Sasuke groaned, teeth gritted. Damn it, we need shelter, Sakura said, voice steady despite her fear. We have to treat him. Now, Naruto nodded, eyes grim. Right, let's find a safe spot. Scene break. A makeshift hideout. They found an abandoned hollow at the base of a massive tree. There, Sakura tended to Sasuke, who thrashed in feverish nightmares. Black markings crept across his skin, then receded, as though the curse had a mind of its own. Naruto paced outside, scanning the forest for signs of threats. The near encounter with Orochimaru had rattled him, though he tried not to show it. He was used to feeling unstoppable, but now he'd seen a level of power and malice beyond any average shinobi. Someone who slipped past his defenses like it was child's play. Sakura poked her head out. He's stable for now, but the mark isn't fading. Naruto clenched his jaw. We can't stay here long. Other teams will come. Just as he spoke, a presence flared in the canopy. Naruto whipped around. 3 sound ninja dropped into view, each wearing the hidden sound emblem. Their leader, a smirking boy named Dosu, sneered. We've been tracking you. Word as Orochimaru took an interest in the Uchiha. We want to see what that's about. Sakura brandished a kunai. We're in no shape to fight right now. Leave us alone. Not happening, said Zaku. Another sound shinobi with strange contraptions on his arms. We want that scroll. Nara dangerous glint in his eyes. You punks sure you're ready for this? Cocky brat, Dosu spat, lifting his bandaged arm. A subtle hum filled the air, a sound-based jutsu. The frequency made the air vibrate violently, jarring Naruto's sense of balance. He winced, the illusion from the intense vibrations muddling even his keen perception. Still, with the limitless, the shockwaves slowed before reaching him, diminishing their force. Gritting his teeth, Naruto tried to localize Dosu's chakra. He's using sound waves, interesting. Zaku followed up, blasting compressed air from his palms. The wave parted around Naruto's barrier, scattering leaves and dust. A female sound ninja, Kin, launched Senbon with bells attached, aiming at Sakura. Naruto flicked a wrist, warping them mid-flight so they missed their mark. Sakura retreated to guard Sasuke, who was still unconscious. Naruto, can you handle all 3? He cracked his neck, focusing. Sure. Dosu let out a harsh laugh. Big talk. Let's see that fancy technique stop this. He unleashed a higher frequency shockwave, enough to tremble the entire area. Naruto's limitless barrier shimmered in response, halting the brunt of the sonic assault, but the ground around him fractured. The other two sound ninja rushed in, striking from opposite sides. Naruto pivoted, blocking Zaku's punch with a space-warping buffer, then twisting to repel Kin's kunai with a close-range distortion. A savage thrill coursed through Naruto despite the situation. He relished a real fight. He pressed an open palm to Zaku's chest, sending a concussive burst that flung him back into a tree trunk with a pained grunt. The tree cracked from the impact. Kin aimed a series of senbon at Naruto's blind spots, guided by the bell's disorienting chimes. Naruto concentrated, letting the six eyes track the subtle arcs in the air. Each senbon slowed near his body, as if magnetized by his infinite barrier, then fell harmlessly to the ground. He retaliated with a swirling wave of distorted air, forcing Kin to leap backward. Dosu scowled, intensifying the sound waves. Naruto felt his eardrums ring painfully. The barrier could only do so much against a technique that traveled through multiple mediums. But Naruto refused to yield. He clenched his fists, gathering the Nine Tails chakra. A red aura shimmered around him, blending with the warping of space to form a fierce, pulsing field. Zaku struggled to his feet, panting, aiming his palm devices again. "We'll blow you away this time." Naruto's lip curled. "Try it." Both Zaku and Dosu unleashed simultaneous attacks, sound waves and pressurized air. Naruto roared, thrusting his palms forward. A wide pulse of raw force erupted, sweeping aside the incoming blasts in a thunderous collision. The air distorted violently, sending debris, dust, and leaves in all directions. When the dust settled, Zaku lay knocked out cold, pinned halfway into the trunk. Dosu coughed, staggering on one knee, glaring up at Naruto in disbelief. Kin hovered to the side, fear etched on her face. Naruto advanced, eyes blazing. "Still want to fight?" Quote. Dosu realized their odds. With a grimace, he helped Kin gather Zaku. "We can't win this. We'll find the Uchiha later." They darted off, the thick forest swallowing them. As soon as they vanished, Naruto exhaled, releasing the pent-up tension. That was intense. Sakura rushed over, breathing hard. "You okay?" He gave a nod, wiping sweat from his brow. "Nothing I can't handle." Sasuke stirred, groaning. Sakura dropped to his side. "Sasuke, how do you feel?" His eyes cracked open, Sharingan spinning. He winced, pressing a hand to his curse mark. "It burns." Naruto crouched next to them. "Orochimaru bit you." He called it a mark. Sasuke's gaze flickered. "I remember. He said he wants to test us." Sakura whispered, "We have to get you medical help. But we can't leave the forest until we get the other scroll." A mix of frustration and determination hardened Sasuke's expression. "I'm not quitting." Naruto extended a hand. "Then let's move. You can lean on me if you need to." Sasuke refused to lean on anyone, but he accepted Naruto's help to stand. "We have 4 more days. Let's find a heaven scroll from some poor team and get to the tower." Scene break the chase for a heaven scroll. For the next day, Team 7 navigated the forest, avoiding large groups and staying on the move. Sasuke's condition fluctuated. Sometimes he'd break into a cold sweat, the curse mark thrumming with ominous energy, but he forced himself to stay alert. They ambushed a smaller Kusa team, swiftly overpowering them. Unfortunately, that team also held an earth scroll. "Damn it," Sasuke muttered, tossing it aside. "No good." They pressed on, employing stealth when they detected stronger squads. Once, they nearly crossed paths with Gaara's team. Naruto felt that chilling presence from a distance and steered them away. Something about Gaara's aura reminded him of Orochimaru's monstrous intent, though more contained. On the second night, they rested in a tangled grove. Sakura set up hidden wire traps. While Naruto kept watch, Sasuke dozed fitfully against a tree trunk, sweat beading on his brow. The curse mark still glowed faintly. Sakura brewed a small pot of herbs, looking worried. "He won't last like this much longer. The mark is draining him." Naruto tightened his jaw. "Then we end this by tomorrow. We find a heaven scroll, or we take it from someone who has it." Sakura hesitated, then nodded. "I'll do whatever it takes." Naruto admired the new steel in her voice. They'd all changed so much since the wave mission. This was no longer about just passing a test, it was survival and growth. Forging them into something stronger. Early dawn, a desperate confrontation. Day 3 brought them a stroke of luck, or so they thought. They spotted Team 10, Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji resting near a shallow stream. Naruto sensed Ino's familiar chakra signature. "We know they have a heaven scroll," Sakura murmured. "But they're also from our village." Naruto paused, tension coiling. Robbing an allied team felt wrong, especially since Ino was part of his complicated personal life. But Sasuke sank to one knee, groaning. The mark flared again, black sigils creeping across his neck. Time was running short. Sasuke rasped, "We can't be sentimental, or we fail." Naruto scowled, torn. "Let me think." Just then, a different team attacked Team 10 from the treeline 3 Rain Ninja. A swirl of Senbon pinned Choji's sleeve to a trunk, while Shikamaru yanked him free with shadow manipulation. Ino scrambled to form hand seals for her mind transfer jutsu, but the Rain Ninja pressed in, forcing them on the defensive. Naruto and Sakura exchanged a glance. Sakura said, "We can help them. Maybe they'll give us the scroll voluntarily." "That's the plan," Naruto agreed. "Let's go." They sprang from the bushes, flanking the Rain trio. With swift coordination, Naruto used a distortion wave to knock one attacker off balance. Sakura tossed a barrage of shuriken, forcing another to dodge right into Shikamaru's shadow. Bound by the technique, the Rain Ninja could only mimic Shikamaru's movements as Ino trapped him with her mind transfer. The last Rain Ninja tried to flee, but was tackled by Choji, who enlarged his body partially for a crushing tackle. Within seconds, the Rain team lay defeated. Panting, Ino brushed hair from her face. "Naruto, Sakura, thanks." Shikamaru exhaled, eyeing Naruto warily. "You saved us, but I assume you want something in return." Choji looked uncertain, glancing between the group. "Wait, are we about to fight them?" Naruto raised his hands, stepping forward. "We need a heaven scroll, fast. Sasuke's in bad shape. If you can spare it." Ino bit her lip, eyes flicking to Sasuke, who was slumped against a tree, that ominous black mark visible. "What happened to him?" Sakura explained. Ino's face paled. "That's awful." Shikamaru rubbed his temples. "Troublesome. We do have a heaven scroll, but if we give it to you, we'll fail." Naruto's expression turned grim. "Look, I get it. But we don't have time. Without the scroll, Sasuke's done for." Choji swallowed. "There has to be a way to help you without us failing." Ino stared at Sasuke, torn by old feelings for him, overshadowed by the severity of the situation. She turned to Naruto, gaze flicking with something deeper, their connection. "Naruto, you saved our lives just now. And Sasuke's." She glanced at Shikamaru, hoping for a compromise. Shikamaru's shoulders sagged. "Fine, let's think logically. We can team up to get another heaven scroll from a different team. We have 2.5 days left. If we do it together, maybe both teams get to the tower." Naruto nodded slowly. "Yeah, let's do that." Scene break alliance in the forest. Team 7 and Team 10 formed a temporary alliance, moving swiftly through the dense vegetation. Shikamaru's strategic mind combined with Naruto's heightened perception and Sakura's protective watch. Ino and Choji backed them up. Sasuke forced himself to walk, though his face remained drawn, beads of sweat marking his struggle. Within hours, they located a smaller team from the grass village who had foolishly split up to hunt. Catching them off guard, the combined force of the two Konoha squads overwhelmed them. Indeed, the grass ninja possessed a heaven scroll. "Score," Ino said, clutching the scroll. "We got it." Naruto exhaled in relief. "So that's 2 heaven scrolls. One for you, one for us." Shikamaru handed the extra scroll to Naruto. "Now we both can head to the tower. Let's hurry." They parted ways soon after, each team racing toward the towering structure at the center of the forest. Naruto glanced back once at Ino, giving a grateful smile. She returned it with a shy wave. He felt a flicker of warmth. She real. Why came through and put on an extra burst of speed. Nightfall. The tower. The looming tower stood in a clearing of trampled earth, illuminated by moonlight. Many squads had already arrived or fallen short. Tired but resolute, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stepped inside, each clutching their earth and heaven scrolls. Sasuke had forced himself to keep going, though he looked on the verge of collapse. Proctor awaited them at an interior chamber, verifying their scrolls. Team 7 from Konoha, correct. Congrats. You made it in time. A quick glance at Sasuke's grimace gave the proctor pause. We have medical staff on standby, should I call them? Sakura nodded anxiously. Yes, please. They were led down a dim hallway into a wide arena-like room filled with other successful teams. Suna squads, Konoha squads, teams from Sound, Grass, and beyond. Everyone wore signs of wear, scrapes, bandages, exhausted eyes. Yet tension thrummed anew, because the Chunin exams weren't over. The second stage simply weeded out the weak. As Sasuke was whisked away to a medical bay, Naruto locked eyes with Gaara, who stood by Temari and Kankuro. Gaara's pale green irises promised violence, though his face remained emotionless. Across the room, Dosu and Kin from Sound lingered, still sporting injuries from Naruto's earlier clash. They refused to look in his direction. Other teams whispered rumors about an unbeatable blonde from the Leaf, who manipulated space. A hush fell as Anko strolled into the arena, accompanied by the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, and several high-profile jonin, including Kakashi. Naruto spotted Danzo in the shadows, always watching. First, congratulations, the Hokage said in a carrying voice. You've passed the forest of death. The next stage will begin after a preliminary round to further narrow the field. Murmurs rippled. Some genin exchanged uneasy looks. They'd just fought tooth and nail to survive, now they might have to fight again immediately. Anko stepped up. We had more survivors than expected. So we'll hold prelims right now. Anyone who feels unfit to continue can withdraw. Her gaze flicked pointedly at several battered teams. Don't waste our time. Naruto stood tall, ignoring the aches in his limbs. Sakura tensed, eyes darting to the medical area where Sasuke had vanished. She wanted to check on him, but the exam demanded she stay. A swirl of worry twisted her gut. Naruto placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. He'll pull through. She nodded, swallowing hard. Right. Kakashi approached them briefly, voice low. Hang in there. I'll watch over Sasuke. Naruto caught the subtle threat in Kakashi's tone. He'd protect Sasuke from Danzo or Orochimaru if needed. Danzo's single eye flickered with disapproval. Perhaps he resented that Kakashi hovered around Naruto and Sasuke like a guardian. Naruto simply ignored the old war hawk, focusing instead on the announcement. A proctor in gray uniform, Hayate Gecko, stepped forward, coughing into his fist. We'll begin the preliminary matches. Random one-on-one fights. Winner moves on. Loser is out. You can forfeit at any time. A digital screen above them cycled through names. Naruto's heart pounded with excitement. Finally, a chance to show everyone that I'm more than rumors. The names settled. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Hiba Inuzuka. Hiba let out a bark of laughter. All right, I've been itching to see how I stack up against you. Naruto descended to the arena floor, a cocky grin on his face. Hiba joined him, Akamaru at his side, growling. Up above, the other genin filled the viewing balconies, leaning over to watch. Hayate raised his hand. Begin. Hiba bolted forward immediately, claws brandished, chakra fangs glinting in the overhead lights. Akamaru leapt with him, jaws snapping. Naruto exhaled, letting the barrier manifest so that their strikes met invisible resistance. But Kiba kept pressing, undeterred. I've heard all about your fancy space jutsu, Kiba snarled, but I'm not backing down. Naruto smirked, stepping aside to let Kiba's momentum carry him past. Good. Show me what you got. Akamaru spun in midair, spitting out a small ball of chakra-laced drool. Naruto flicked a wrist to warp it away harmlessly. But Kiba circled around, unleashing a bestial transformation. His nails elongated, and his canines sharpened. Fang over fang, he whirled into a spinning drill of claws and teeth, streaking at Naruto from two angles. Kiba and Akamaru, each in beast form. Naruto calmly twisted his palms. The twin spinning attacks collided with a localized gravitational field, spar. KS flying as the swirling chakra hammered at the intangible barrier. Naruto felt a mild strain. Kiba's technique was definitely stronger than average, but still within his limit to handle. He gathered a shockwave in his fingertips and released it. Boom! A visible ripple of distorted air knocked Kiba and Akamaru out of their spin. They tumbled across the arena floor, landing in a heap. Kiba rose, panting, determined not to lose. That all you got? Naruto shrugged. I can end this anytime. Kiba wiped sweat from his brow. So can I. He grabbed a soldier pill from his pouch, feeding one to Akamaru. The dog's fur turned red, chakra flaring. They repeated their transformation, merging into identical werewolf-like forms. Now we're serious. They soared forward again in a savage double fang over fang, the impact rattling the arena walls. A few onlookers whistled, impressed by Kiba's raw ferocity. But Naruto merely placed a hand out. The spinning vortex slowed inch by inch until it seemed locked in midair. Kiba's eyes widened in disbelief. What the? Naruto frowned. Sorry, Kiba, I like you, but I can't hold back too long. I've got bigger fish to fry. He slammed a compression wave through the frictionless barrier, hurling Kiba and Akamaru back. They crashed to the floor, transformation dissipating, soldier pill effects fading. Bruised and dazed, Kiba tried to rise, but collapsed. Hayate coughed gently. The winner. Naruto Uzumaki. Cheers and murmurs rippled through the stands. Naruto offered Kiba a hand. You did good, man. Kiba grimaced, accepting the help. TCH, can't believe I lost. But you're crazy strong, Naruto. Akamaru whimpered apologetically. Naruto ruffled the pup's ears. Get stronger, and we'll do this again. Scene break. Other matches. Over the next hours, one match after another played out. Sakura cringed at some of the brutal outcomes. Rock Lee vs. a Sound Ninja ended with Lee's near-broken body but ultimate victory thanks to his Lotus technique. Hinata faced off against Neji. A tense confrontation within the Hyuga clan. Neji's ruthless mastery of gentle fist left her gravely wounded, though she refused to forfeit until the last possible moment. Asuka eventually emerged from medical care to fight Yoroi, a ninja who tried to absorb his chakra. Driven by the curse mark's influence and a flicker of dark power, Sasuke narrowly won but nearly lost himself to the mark's malignant aura. Kakashi intervened, sealing the mark to prevent further spread. Naruto watched that match with clenched fists, feeling both relief that Sasuke won and anger at Orochimaru's curse had nearly consumed him. I need to get stronger. It wasn't just about winning now, it was about protecting his friends from these hidden horrors. Sakura's turn came against Ino. The two old rivals clashed, each hesitant at first but growing fiercer. Ino used her mind transfer jutsu, briefly taking over Sakura's body, only for Sakura's strong will to break free. Their match ended in a double knockout, both exhausted. Leading to a tie, neither advanced, leaving them disappointed yet oddly bonded by the result. Gaara's battle was chillingly short. He crushed his opponent with sand, ending it in seconds without mercy. Murmurs spread about his monstrous powers, how he seemed nigh untouchable. Naruto itched to test himself against Gaara, but also felt a wary sense that Gaara was grappling with something dark like Naruto's own nine tails, but twisted differently. Finally, at day's end, only a handful remained. The proctors gathered the winners in the arena center. Hayate coughed into his fist. To those who have won your prelims, congratulations. You'll move on to the final stage of the Chunin exams, to be held 1 month from now. Train, rest, prepare. The final matches will be one-on-one. Displayed before daimyo and lords from every land. He directed them to a large bracket on the wall. Naruto scanned it, spotting his own name lined up to face Neji Hyuga. Sasuke was matched against Gaara, much to the crowd's fascination. Other pairings filled out. Shino vs. Kankuro, Temari vs. Shikamaru, who'd squeaked by in his match, and so on. Naruto's heart thumped. Neji. He recalled the cold brutality he used against Hinata. This was personal. He wanted to avenge Hinata's injuries and shatter Neji's fatalistic worldview. A swirl of excitement overshadowed his fatigue. The entire village, no, the entire shinobi world would watch the finals. This was the platform Naruto wanted, to prove that his power wasn't just rumor. I'll show them the true scope of Limitless. Night Hospital rooftop. Long after the prelims concluded, Naruto snuck into Konoha's main hospital to check on Hinata, who lay in recovery from the beating Neji gave her. The corridors were dim, only a few medical nin hurrying about. He quietly found her room but discovered she was asleep, chest wrapped in bandages, bruises on her neck and arms. Feeling a surge of guilt, he retreated to the rooftop, where the city lights twinkled below. I'll pay him back, Hinata, he murmured, clenching his fists. You won't get hurt like that again. To his surprise, footsteps echoed behind him. He turned to see Ino, also visiting the hospital. She wore her usual outfit, arms folded, hair a bit disheveled from the day's battles. Couldn't sleep? She asked softly. He shook his head, leaning on the railing. Just checking on Hinata. Ino nodded. She'll be okay. Tougher than she looks. They stood side by side, the night air cooling their heated nerves. Finally, she sighed. I guess I won't be advancing to the finals. Lost my chance in that tie with billboard brow. Her tone was half joking, half regretful. Naruto glanced at her. You did great, Ino. Way beyond what most expected. She mustered a small smile. Thanks. You'd better win. Otherwise, I'll never forgive you. He chuckled, turning to face her. I plan to. But hey, he hesitated, flickers of memory dancing her trust in the forest, ing up the scroll so he could save Sasuke. Without that, Team 7 would have failed. Thanks for everything. You really helped us out there. She shrugged, cheeks warming. You saved me from those rain guys first. And, well, we're friends. Right. He slid closer, a playful glint in his eyes. Friends, sure, but maybe more. Ino arched an eyebrow. Still the same smooth talker, huh? He just laughed softly, then leaned in to press a gentle kiss to her lips. She didn't resist. It felt more tender this time, less frantic than in the back of her shop. They lingered in that moment, sharing warmth under the moonlight. When they parted, she whispered, You really are shameless. He winked. You like it. A hush fell, comfortable in its own way. Then she stepped back, crossing her arms to hide a slight blush. You have a month to train. Right. Don't let your head get too big. There are monsters out there. Naruto nodded, recalling Orochimaru, Gaara, and the looming threat of Danzo. I know, but I'll handle it. She gave a small smile. And maybe I'll cheer for you from the stands. You better make it worth watching. He grinned wide. Count on it. Scene break a month's respite. Over the next weeks, each finalist pursued specialized training to prep for the grand finale. Sasuke vanished under Kakashi's tutelage, presumably focusing on improving his Sharingan and controlling the curse mark. Sakura visited the hospital often, presumably helping or training with medical staff, determined to enhance her skills after feeling powerless. Naruto had a more complex arrangement. The third Hokage, Ge gave him a pass to explore advanced jutsu scrolls, but Danzo's route loomed in the background, pressuring him from the shadows. He had to move carefully, often training in hidden corners of the ville. Age or late at night when fewer eyes watched. Word reached him that one of the legendary Sannin, Jiraiya, had returned to the village. Reportedly, the Hokage had asked the Toad Sage to watch over Naru and help him harness the Nine Tails chakra. At first, Naruto resisted. He was used to forging his own path, relying on the limitless. But Jiraiya's flamboyant approach and vast knowledge soon proved interesting. They spent hours refining Naruto's control over the Nine Tails, blending it with his space-warping technique in unexpected ways. Between sessions, Naruto occasionally crossed paths with Hinata, still recuperating but growing stronger each day. Her shy encouragement and determination stirred something protective in him. Enko also dropped by unannounced once or twice, flinging kunai at him as a greeting. Keep it up, brat. She teased, or I'll leave you in the dust. He never quite knew if she was flirting, threatening, or both. 1 month later, final stage arena. An enormous Arcolar stadium teemed with spectators, feudal lords, high-ranking shinobi, villagers, and travelers from afar. Even the Cage was in attendance, seated near the Hokage. Banners fluttered in the wind, vendors hawked snacks, and anticipation sizzled in the air. The finalists assembled in the waiting area beneath the stands. Naruto took in the crowd of winners who had advanced. Gaara, Sasuke, Neji, Shino, Kankuro, Temari, and Shikamaru. Each looked more focused, more dangerous than they had a month ago. Sasuke arrived fashionably late with Kakashi, exuding a heave curse mark locked beneath new seals. The proctor, Genma Shiranui, stepped into the arena, Senbon toothpick perched between his lips. All right, folks, welcome to the final stage of the Chunin exams. Let's keep this clean. First match. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Neji Hyuga. A thrill coursed through Naruto as he and Neji jumped down into the wide arena, dust kicking up around them. The stands erupted in cheers, though many watchers coo-eyed to see how this clash would unfold, the Hyuga prodigy versus the rumored unstoppable Naruto. Neji's pale eyes bored into Naruto. "You should forfeit," he said, voice cool. "Destiny has already chosen the outcome." Naruto rolled his shoulders, stepping into a relaxed stance. "Destiny, huh? Guess we'll see." Neji activated his Byakugan. Veins bulged around his temples as he observed Naruto's chakra network. Naruto saw Neji's mild surprise. The swirling maelstrom of the nine tails was anything but normal. Then, Neji's gaze flickered to Naruto's subtle space distortion, perplexed by the infinite barrier that concealed some of his chakra flow. "You're an anomaly," Neji muttered. "No matter. Fate cannot be denied." Genma's arm cut the air. "Begin." Neji struck first, closing the distance in a heartbeat. 8 trigrams. 64 palms. He aimed precise gentle fist strikes at Naruto's tenketsu, each blow meant to shut down chakra flow. Normally, even an elite Jonin would struggle to block or dodge such a blitz. But Naruto's limitless flared. Neji's palms slowed inches from Naruto's body, each strike hitting an intangible wall. Naruto let the first few taps land on the barrier, reading Neji's technique with the 6 eyes. Then he slid backward, weaving around Neji's final blow. Cheers and astonishment rang from the crowd. Neji frowned, unwavering. "I see. But that trick has limits." He dashed around, unleashing a flurry of palm strikes from multiple angles. Naruto deflected them with minimal movement, letting the infinite gap hamper each blow. Then Naruto pressed forward. He racked the barrier enough to let him slip inside Neji's guard, launching a quick palm thrust. Neji twisted away, but Naruto's blow clipped him, sending him skidding. Neji's expression remained stoic, though faint surprise flickered in his eyes. "You push your advantage well. But it ends now." He inhaled sharply, forming a circular stance. 8 trigrams palm rotation. Chakra whirled around him in a dome of spinning force. Naruto sensed the momentum building a Hyuga clan ultimate defense. If he tried to breach it physically, he risked serious damage. Naruto smirked. "I have an ultimate defense too, Hyuga." As the sphere of swirling chakra came at him, Naruto stepped forward, forging a wedge of warped space. The two defenses collided in a spectacular clash. Neji's rotation battered Naruto's barrier, while Naruto's limitless bent the vacuum, forcing Neji's spin to slow. The stadium floor cracked beneath their feet. With a determined shout, Naruto twisted his hands, channeling a condensed wave of pressure into the rotation center. Neji's eyes widened as his swirling defense buckled inward. The force knocked him out of the rotation, flinging him across the arena. He tumbled, coughing dust, but flipped upright. "Impossible," he muttered under his breath. A hush fell among the onlookers, stunned that Naruto had disrupted the fabled Hyuga rotation. Naruto advanced, heart pounding, adrenaline roaring. "So much for destiny. Stop hiding behind that excuse." Neji's eyes flashed with anger. "You know nothing of my life." He unleashed another barrage of gentle fist combos, determined to and at least one direct hit on Naruto's tenketsu. If he could seal Naruto's chakra, maybe the barrier would vanish. But Naruto was done playing defense. He poured a bit of the nine tails chakra into a swirling distortion that shaped around his fists. With each blow, he forced Neji on the back foot, controlling the flow of battle. At last, Naruto fainted high, drawing Neji's guard up. He then strew CK low with a palm brimming with compressed air. The blow connected with Neji's ribs, not his body, but the fraction of space between them. The shockwave hammered Neji from point-blank range, sending him airborne. He crashed onto the cracked earth, struggling to breathe. The arena fell silent, awaiting a verdict. "Yield," Naruto said softly, walking toward him. "Or I'll knock you out cold." Neji tried to stand, coughed, and sank back to his knees. His pride warred with the reality of defeat. Finally, he bowed his head, trembling. I yield." Genma lifted his hand. "Winner. Naruto Uzumaki." Thunderous cheers erupted. In the stands, Hinata, now partially recovered, smiled through teary eyes. Guy clapped dramatically, praising Neji's effort. The crowd chanted Naruto's name. Danzo, from his hidden vantage, watched with a cold frown. Naruto extended a hand to Neji. You fought hard, but you're not bound by fate. Remember that. Neji stared at him for a long moment, then accepted the help, rising unsteadily. Something shifted in his eyes, perhaps a seed of humility, or the start of a new perspective. Epilogue foreshadows and bonds. The exams continued. Sasuke's fight with Gaara was set to close the day, building massive anticipation. But even as Sasuke readied himself, ominous machinations stirred in the background, whispers of a planned invasion, Orochimaru's presence hidden in the stands, and Anbu on high alert. Naruto, fresh from his victory, sat in the fighter's balcony, gazing down at the arena. He caught Gaara's blank stare, the gourd resting ominously at his side. A prickle of foreboding ran down Naruto's spine. Something big is coming. Yet in that moment, he felt a sense of fulfillment. He'd proven himself in front of thousands, shown that his powers and his will were no joke. Sakura quietly congratulated him, smiling. Sasuke gave a curt nod when their eyes met. Even Ino waved from the stands, a playful smirk on her lips. Hinata was there too, eyes shining with admiration and relief. Kakashi, perched by the railing, gave him a proud thumbs up. They all have their own reasons to fight, Naruto thought, recalling each face. And I'll fight for them, too, he murmured under his breath. The final matches beckoned. Tension soared. This was only the beginning of something larger. Threats from Orochimaru, the looming presence of Akatsuki, and Danzo's shadowy manipulations. But Naruto felt ready, or at least, he burned with the determination to face it all. In the swirling rush of cheers, drumbeats, and the hum of an anxious crowd, Naruto stood on the cusp of the next grand conflict. Confident, unbowed, and unstoppable, he looked up at the endless sky and grinned. Let the world come. He was Naruto Uzumaki Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, inheritor of Satoru Gojo's Limitless and Six Eyes. And he had only just begun to rewrite destiny on his own terms. End of Chapter 5. Godlike in power yet still growing in heart and spirit, Naruto conquers the preliminaries, forging alliances, clashing with Orochimaru, and securing a bold victory against Neji. Rivalries simmer, romantic subplots blossom, and the bond with his teammates grows stronger under the shadow of the Chunin exams. Yet deeper threats loom: Danzo's scheming, Orochimaru's obsession, and Akatsuki's distant machinations. The story leaves the stage set for an explosive climax in future arcs, the finals, an impending invasion, and the unraveling of the shinobi world's darkest secrets. Though this arc concludes here, Naruto's journey and the fate of everyone he holds dear remains poised on a knife's edge, promising ever greater challenges and triumphs to come.